What is up? Welcome to today's live stream, David Ram's live stream. It's been a minute, right? Bloody hell. Feels like it's been a minute. When was the last time we streamed, guys? It's like about a month ago or something like that, I think it was. I look in here, it seems like it was about a month ago anyway, but hey, there we go. Time flies, right? Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Or when you're out doing a project, a big project. It's going to take a hell of a lot of time, and that's going to hopefully help a lot of activists and hopefully help a lot of animals. We're here today to react to a couple of videos. Now, I've picked out a few videos that I want us to talk about because I've not seen them. And I've thought, right, there's a couple I've seen by Earthling Ed, a couple I've seen by Joey, and they've got more views than normal, especially the one we're about to look at from Ed now. It's got more views than normal. It's got like, how many views is it? Like 99,000 views, when Ed's usual viewership is like around 40, 50,000. So I figured this one must be all right then. And it's about this, it's vegetarian fights back against vegan. That's the title of it. And there's another one as well where he's talking about a hunter. Talking to a hunter. I haven't seen either of these videos, but I can tell you something. I'm feeling particularly rowdy today. I want to go in hard on these people. I think, do you know, I've had a little bit of time away from live streaming. I've had a bit of time away from coming on here and chatting to you guys. And I've made a few little reels and little shorts and stuff. But in my time away, where I've had time to kind of reflect and, I don't know, think about what I want to do, I think I've realized that I've not been going quite hard enough. Do you know what I mean? Because that's like, what I say to you on camera is like a toned down kind of PG-13 version of what I really want to say, right? So I'm thinking about moving more towards the what do I really want to say, and moving more towards maybe I'm just gonna start fucking saying it. Maybe this could be the worst idea I've ever had, or it could be the best idea I've ever had, couldn't it? I mean, look, you guys are gonna decide whether it's the best or worst idea. But I'm thinking about starting today, and with this basically, to see, you know, what this little vegetarian has to say. And I don't know anything about this dude, but I can tell you straight from the thumbnail that he's looking douchey. He's looking douchey from this thumbnail. I mean, you can't see the thumbnail, but there you go. The thumbnail's a little version of the thumbnail right there. He looks douchey. He's got the backwards hat. Now, I can't really say much about the backwards hat. That would make me a hypocrite. Whoa, why is that covering me? Jesus, when did that get so big? Hold up, let's just make that a little bit smaller, huh? That's what she said, hey. No, all right, look, there we go. That's better. I mean, move me over here a little bit, maybe. Looks like I'm dancing, doesn't it? There we go. I think that's better. What I was saying was, I think I can't be too much of a hypocrite calling this guy up for wearing a backwards hat. Like, I wore a backwards hat for like literally the majority of my initial YouTube career. I can't say shit about the wearing a backwards hat. But also I can. It's kind of douchey. And that's why I did it. I didn't mind being douchey. I was totally douchey back in the days. And that was the backwards hat. But now we're wearing the forward hat. And now it's like, it's less douchey, right? So what do you think, guys? Should we get into this reaction? Should we take a look at what this vegetarian's got to say? If you're up for it, if you're ready to see what this vegetarian's going on about, this vegetarian fights back against vegan, 99,000 views, 6,800 upvotes, likes, only 84 dislikes, which is surprising. If you're into it, if you want to get into it, put in the chat right now, vegetarian roast. That's what I want to see in the chat right now. Vegetarian roast, if you are ready for a vegetarian roast. And also, if you have other videos you want me to react to, that you want me to check out, just pop them in the chat. Or better yet, use the Streamlabs link, use the Streamlabs donation link, and I'll definitely watch the video you want me to watch if you do that. Otherwise, put it in the chat, and we'll just have to see if we get around to it. Does that sound fair to you guys? I hope so, because it sounds fair. There we go, just fix that. Sounds fair to me. Let's get into this vegetarian roast then, shall we? Here we go.
So hi Sahil, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to sit with me. Today I'm at the University of Austin, and I have a banner that says veganism is a moral obligation. What do you think about that statement?
I think it's...
That was a weird camera cut. Sorry, go on.
There's a few problems with saying veganism is a moral obligation. And I'd say the first one probably stems from the fact and the easiest one is that it's a slippery slope. And obviously, a lot of the arguments saying that veganism is a moral obligation have to do with the fact that life it has inherent value, regardless of whether it's human life or animal life. And the problem then becomes with veganism is, where do you draw the line?
So, I actually didn't expect him to sound like that. I also didn't expect him to have painted nails. I feel like I already know everything this guy believes. I feel like how this is going to be is that this guy is a progressive, like left-wing, politically left-leaning progressive or fake progressive who believes in the rights for women and rights for BLM, and he's all feminist and all this stuff. He believes in all of this good stuff, which is good, by the way, except when it comes to animals. And then he draws the line and says, no, they're all animals. Fuck them. They deserve to be discriminated against. That's what I think this guy is. Well, he's vegetarian, so at least, the meat industry seems to be against. I don't know why, but I'm just going to go ahead on a limb, not seen this video before, and that's what I think we're going to get here based on based on his appearance, based on the way he's speaking, and based on his lovely black fingernails. That's what I'm going for.
It's easy to say conscious life or sentient life has value as an arbitrary line, but then how you define consciousness begins to matter. And when you get into discussing whether or not plants are sentient, it's pretty, obviously normal humans can be like, no, obviously plants aren't sentient, they can't think.
He's going straight for plants.
But there are some blurry lines there that probably should be cleared up before saying veganism, as it is currently described and propagated, is a moral obligation.
Well,
so we got to clear. So before we can decide whether we put animals in slaughterhouses and kill them in the billions, we firstly need to clear up a few of these gray areas, these blurred lines around plants. Before we'll decide that we shouldn't kill animals, we need to talk about plants, guys. Yeah. Yep. Cool. I'm still standing by what I said. I don't reckon they're going to get into any other politics here, but I reckon I've got that guy down to a fucking T.
Well, veganism is about reducing unnecessary harm, isn't it? It's about trying to take into consideration the life experiences of others. So what we have to do is, the first consideration we have to make is that we can't be perfect. That's the first consideration we have to make. The second consideration is that we have to eat something. Not someone, as we'll come on to in just a minute. So we have to eat something to survive. So our survival is predicated on the consumption of food. Now, back in the day when we had to consume animals, you could morally justify doing so out of the fact that we needed to survive. Obviously, in the modern day context, we don't, which is why this question becomes important. So to bring it back to what you're saying...
I really wish... there's nothing Ed is saying there is wrong, by the way. And I know this is what Ed does, and it's good that Ed does this. This is Ed's thing. But I really kind of wish that I'd been sat there and this guy said that to me. So I could I wouldn't be having this conversation with the intention of changing his mind. I'd be having this conversation with the intention of creating a video that would reach a lot of people and ultimately kind of make this guy look a bit stupid. Because it's not very difficult to make this guy look stupid because he's already made himself look stupid. And I just love to respond to the kind of, that would say exactly what I said. So, okay then. So I'm trying to stop the mass slaughter of animals. And you're saying you don't want to do that until we figure out something that you've got some doubts around plant sentience. Is that really what you're saying, bro? I mean, I hope Ed's going to go in on that.
Veganism is about doing what is possible and practicable to reduce suffering. So if we recognize that there is this kind of gradient of sentience, which is absolutely true, there is of course a gradient to sentience.
But he doesn't care.
What we have to establish is what part of this gradient causes the least amount of suffering. And that would be the plants in this scenario, out of the food that we can consume. So veganism is a moral obligation because we're choosing what is possible and practical in the situation we have. And obviously that can change based on if we find out one day that, let's say, courgettes are really sentient, but broccolis aren't. We would say let's consume broccolis over courgettes. I'm being a little bit facetious, but what I'm saying is that the basic proponent of veganism is to do what is possible and practicable with the knowledge that we have. And as it currently stands, that makes eating plants to be the most morally justified act that we can partake in. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I would disagree with that. I think it's a really interesting point, and probably valid under the idea that it is unfeasible to survive without consuming plants. There are numerous exampons, I say numerous, there are a few examples of people that have learned to control their body to the point where they no longer need to consume food.
No, there aren't. There fucking aren't, man. Jesus Christ. these examples of people who've done that, they've had some researchers out there. They've tried to actually prove whether this person is doing that or not. And there have been moments in these people's days, these gurus or whatever, where the cameras and the researchers were not allowed to accompany them for spiritual reasons or religious reasons or whatever reason. Or it could be for eating reasons, because let's be honest, the second those cameras weren't on them and those researchers weren't looking, they were munching something or drinking something. That's why. So I hope Ed is about to like say that.
I would question the veracity of
Yes.
such people. Are you talking about breatharians?
I'm not sure refutarians you're meaning, but I know for sure there's sadhus in India that have like apparently mastered the art of meditation to the point where doctors have conducted studies on their bodies and they have like the ability to empty and fill their bladder at will. They don't consume things. I'm not saying that's necessarily true, but I'm saying that's one possible
not
avenue
true.
to consider.
Do you think it's true?
I think that there's probably more investigation that needs to be done, but the fact that they're alive means there must be some veracity to these statements.
Or do you think that the fact that they're alive proves there's veracity to the statements, or do you think the fact that they're alive proves that maybe there's something disingenuous going on? Because I would opt for the latter.
I think it's a possibility that something disingenuous is going on, but I would say that possibility is, in my mind, significantly lower, given the fact that it has been tested by numerous, like, it's scientific studies have been testing it, so I would say the veracity of them is less, is likely to be higher than if it was just some random person on the street
Look,
claiming.
guys, like literally, this guy has the solution to world hunger. It's real simple. If you and your family are dying of starvation and thirst because you can't get clean water and you can't get food, all you got to do is follow these gurujis from India and just learn how to meditate. Just learn how to meditate, and if you can do it well enough, you won't have to eat or drink anything. So what are we doing right now, guys? Why are we even? Surely we don't need to all be vegan, because look, the veganism is supposed to be living in some people would define as the way that causes the least harm. So actually the way that causes the least harm is meditation and not eating or drinking, because everyone can live like that, right? Everyone can meditate apparently to the point where you don't actually need to eat or drink, because that's possible. It's totally feasible. According to this dude in a backwards hat at a university, debating. And here's the kicker, though. If he believes that these people can do this and are doing this, and his whole argument against veganism is that what he's trying to say is that veganism isn't the way to live that's the least harmful. Actually, that way is. Well, if he believes that, why isn't he doing that? Why hasn't he gone off somewhere in India or wherever with these gurus and started just meditating instead of going to university? Because surely this meditation life is the way of causing the least harm, where you don't have to eat or drink anything. I mean, come on. And what gets me, people bring up arguments against, so Ed sits there as a vegan arguing for veganism. Did you ever notice that a lot of people bring up arguments like this guy, and they don't even do the things that they're professing are the arguments against veganism? Like people will say, we should hunt all our food and go live in the wild. And you're like, okay, do you do that? No. So what's the point you're trying? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point then? Are you just arguing for the sake of arguing? You don't even do the things that you say are better. So why even bring it up?
Naming it. That being said, that's not necessarily the line of argument that I want to go down. I was just saying that that's a possibility. The line of argument that I'm particularly interested in would be why we draw the line where we draw the line on plants.
Oh, yeah.
It's
We have a plant rights
easy to
activist
say,
here.
well, we can survive eating only plants, but why say we can survive eating only plants, and why do we value the suffering of, let's say, and I'm a vegetarian, so I don't consume meat, but I do consume animal products. Why do we value the suffering of, if it's not even the death of the animal, but rather just a byproduct of an animal, over what could be the strengthening of our body? For example, someone that doesn't eat a lot of protein in the form of eggs may not be as strong and may face suffering as a result of that they might not face if they consumed eggs.
So, for fuck's sake, man. So we're talking about a purely hypothetical person who, what about if this person didn't eat? if we're talking about someone who would be like suffering and dying if they didn't eat eggs, then we're talking about a survival situation, aren't we? Which Ed's not going to argue against someone doing what they need to do to survive. But if we're talking about just some, I don't know, what is that claim? Just some random claim that someone somewhere who wasn't eating eggs and suffered because of that, but they still got protein, but they didn't get enough protein because they didn't have the eggs. It's just why, what is this guy doing bringing up a silly hypothetical without any kind of, like in a vacuum, hypothetical in a vacuum that it doesn't argue against Ed's point, as I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at. And it seems like, I think he thinks he's really smart without realizing that he's just basically, what would even the word be? It's like, he's like doing the kind of thing I call guitar wanking, which I've mentioned before, but like with the mind, like philosophy wanking or whatever you call it. He's just coming out with crap to try to, I don't know, confuse Ed maybe, or without actually making any argument.
Well, the first thing to establish is that you can get all the protein you need from plants. So if someone stops eating eggs, that doesn't mean that they won't get protein from plants, because you can get all the protein you need from plants, so that's fine. The second thing is just to touch very briefly on dairy and eggs. These products aren't byproducts. These animals are farmed specifically for those, and they're also ultimately killed at the end. So vegetarianism is against the act of killing an animal, but all dairy cows and all egg-laying hens are still killed in slaughterhouses at the end of the day, because there's a point where they are no longer profitable enough for the farmer. Their production declines, or whatever it might be in that process. So they're all still killed in a slaughterhouse anyway. So when we buy these products, we're still paying for death. So that's another important thing to kind of establish. Now, where we draw that line, and maybe this isn't the question you were quite asking, so maybe I'll ask you just to clarify in a second, but if we establish that we can get all the protein we need from plants, and we establish that dairy and eggs also cause suffering and ultimately death, why would we not opt to choose plants instead?
This might come across as strange, but I am a person that does not. I don't change unless there's a significant impetus for that change. So I was born and raised vegetarian, and I have not heard a convincing enough moral argument as to why I should switch. And
the reduction of suffering?
For me, that suffering is so marginal, and this is going to come across like I sound like a horrible person.
Just to establish what that suffering is, we're talking about cutting the throat of a cow. Or we're talking about cutting the stalk of a broccoli, to simplify it down.
Correct.
Do you think that there is a moral distinction between those two?
There is a moral distinction.
So by the virtue of creating a moral distinction, you have assigned that one is more morally preferable to another.
Correct. And this is going to sound really bad, like on me as a person, but when considering the suffering of, let's say, animals in theory, it is hard for me to justify switching my entire paradigm of how I live my life based on suffering that, one, I don't see, two, I can't fully quantify, and three, weighing it against, again, shifting the way I live my life entirely.
What a total twat. So basically what he's saying is, I don't need to see it, and it's so much suffering, I can't even imagine it anyway. And because I don't see it, or I can't imagine it, or like, you know, put myself in their shoes, I don't see the point in changing. That basically, he said it would make him sound like a horrible person. And I mean, let's be reasonable. He's a total cunt. That's exactly what's going on here. And God, just to sit in front of someone like this, it's the typical kind of, clearly from well, he's at university, so he's of a certain background. I'm going to assume privileged by going off the accent, going off the general demeanor, going off the shit he's saying, like probably a very privileged background without much struggle, and it's led to him being this jumped up little pretentious shit that doesn't care about anyone but himself, unless if the things that happen that are bad don't directly impact him, he doesn't give a fuck and won't change. There's like another 10, 11 minutes of this. So I just hope that Ed calls him out on it. And I mean, hopefully once he's had this repeated back to him and he sees how much of a total twat he sounds, you'd hope that he would change. Because I've had people, you know, here on the live stream, and we've debated, and they've sounded similar to this. And in the end, you know, they changed. You know, we had Thoughtbat who was saying similar stuff to this, and he was being very dismissive and kind of selfish. And then in the end, he realized that he was chatting shit and he actually went vegan. So, it's possible. I've not seen how this ends, so we'll see.
But you do know it exists.
Oh, I do know it exists. Yes, I agree. I agree with you.
Being a twat, though.
In a world where you are weighing it, in a world where switching the way you live your life costs nothing, veganism is probably a good idea.
That world exists for you and I right now.
But I don't think it costs nothing. I think making people shift the way they live their lives in and of itself is a difficult choice.
But that doesn't make it not a morally just choice. Sometimes things are difficult and sometimes things are inconvenient, but almost every moral change that's happened in society has inconvenienced those who are benefiting. In this scenario, we are the oppressor. We're the one who's benefiting from this. So of course it's an inconvenience for us, but it's also a morally obligated thing to do to reduce suffering. So what has higher value? The suffering of others or our convenience?
Again, that will depend on the value that we place on our convenience. And so it's in a world where the suffering of others is prioritized greater than our convenience. Yes, veganism is.
Do you value it higher or lower? For you, what's your convenience versus their suffering?
For me, my convenience would be higher than the suffering.
So let me lay out this convenience factor then. You have to eat 3 times a day. So where you get your food is from a supermarket, from a restaurant, or from a food delivery app. Every
Don't have
supermarket
kids, guys. Fucking hell. This is what they can come out with. Don't have kids.
you go into has plant-based foods. So there's no inconvenience there because you just have to buy something else. The only inconvenience that exists is you have to make slight changes to the recipes you currently consume. Take out the non-vegan stuff, replace them with vegan stuff. Find some different alternatives that you like. But once you've done that, it's no longer an inconvenience because you've established what foods you like. You found recipes that you enjoy and you can implement that because you know where those foods are. So the inconvenience we're talking about is a mild inconvenience and it's a temporary inconvenience. So now the question becomes, is a mild temporary inconvenience worth more than the entire life of an animal, the suffering they endure and their actual life? What has higher value?
Slap him, Ed, because he's about to say his convenience. And at that exact moment, Ed should just go bang and then just go get the fuck off my table. Go on, fuck off. That's what should happen. Semi-joking. I don't know about the slap. I don't know. Maybe a threat of a slap. Or maybe just tell him to fuck off. I don't know. I'd be very tempted to slap his little smug face if he says what he's about to say again.
Yeah. Again, I think that I agree with you, it's a temporary inconvenience. However, I think it's more than just changing. You're not just changing the food you pick out. You're not just changing the recipe you use.
That slap is, my hand's itching right now. It's itching to slap him.
You're changing the entire way you think. Because the way I think right now is I see meat, I don't eat it. Like my brain turns off and I go the other direction. But when I see an egg or I see milk, my brain doesn't turn off and I don't go the other direction. So the inconvenience you're talking about is more than just not choosing certain foods. It's changing the way we think. And I think changing the way a human thinks, that inconvenience needs to be weighed. And again, I think every person needs to make their own decision. But my issue with it saying it's a moral obligation is you're saying that for every person they should weigh that suffering over their own convenience, and I don't think that's fair to say for every person. Again, that's my personal philosophy.
I love how this guy, it's like this guy is sat speaking to Ed right now, and the only reason this guy can actually sit and speak to Ed is because people in the past did exactly what he's saying he won't fucking do. As in, this kid, I don't know where he's from, but I can see that he's not white, right? And he would have had no political voice, and he definitely wouldn't have been able to mooch around like he's doing now, go to university and stuff in this country in the past, unless other people did what he's saying he won't do, i.e. other people fought to have people change their entire mindsets, change the way they see each other, the way the law works, the way the thing that Ed's trying to suggest he does now for animals, other people fought to do for people like him. And now he sits there and uses this opportunity that he's now got to use his voice from people doing that for people like him to say, don't fucking do that for animals. Or I'm not going to do that for animals. Fuck you, because I'm selfish and I don't want to change my mindset. It's just fucking insane. I feel like I'm going to say something now that's kind of fucked up. But I feel like when you get people let's say, Europeans, white Europeans or white Americans who say stuff like this, you're like, Yeah, well, that kind of adds up because, you know, most you could say most people who've grown up with that background have grown up with a background where like they've never faced challenges like that, right? Like what I've just said. Like most, unless you're a woman, I suppose. So let's narrow that down to men, okay? Like European white men, American white men. Never really faced any kind of systemic or any kind of thing like that necessarily that goes like, you can't say this at this point because you are this, right? Which is happening now, right? But I'm talking about historically. But like, so when I see someone like this kid, or you know, who's not white in a country where previously people who haven't been white have been like treated like shit, or women, for example, in countries where women have been treated like shit or still are being treated like shit or whatever, and then they argue for things that are like that you know, like I've just said, like the only reason they can even sit there and make this argument is because somebody else fought for them with the same arguments Ed's using. It just blows my fucking mind. It's like, do a bit of research, right? Look at history. Look how other people did this exact same shit for you, and then you refuse to do it. You refuse to alter the way you see the world for another victim. It's so fucked up beyond belief. It really, it really confuses me, honestly.
How morality should be judged. I don't want to implement that on others. I don't want to say others have to view it the same way, but
you are implementing on others. You're implementing on the animals who have been killed. So you are implementing your version of morals onto someone else, because you are subjecting someone else to a life that causes them harm and ultimately results in their life being taken prematurely in a slaughterhouse. So you are very much implementing your morals onto others.
Are you? The only way that I would say that could be potentially true would be if animals have morality.
You see, he's a total, yeah. I see. Basically, whoa, David, language quarter in the swear jar. Am I swearing too much, guys? 'Cause I'm just worked up. I'm worked up already. Swearing isn't vegan. Fuck yes, it is. Swearing is vegan. And I came here to say it real today. I'm not holding too much back. I'm holding a little bit back. But this kid is, wow, what a twat.
Can animals be moral?
But they deserve moral consideration from us.
Well, my argument isn't about deserving moral consideration. I agree they should factor into the moral calculus.
Yeah.
However, what I'm saying is I don't want to impose my moral values onto another person, right?
But you do impose them onto someone else. You impose them to many others.
The animals, right?
Yes.
But if the animals themselves cannot have a moral, if the animals themselves cannot be moral, then how can I impose moral obligations?
Animals can be moral. I mean, we have pets in our home that can be moral, and
he's trying to say at this point, I think Ed's missed it. He's trying to say that like Ed should not be telling him how his morals should be. And Ed's saying, but Ed's missed that. He thinks you're talking about imposing morals in a different way, but whatever. But Ed won't respond to this, I suppose. This kid's trying to say, don't impose your morals on me. But this kid imposes his morals on everyone, no doubt, right? No doubt this kid would say to people like racism's bad, sexism's bad, right? No doubt. That's imposing his fucking morals on others. But when it comes to animals, he's like, no, don't impose morals.
Tests have shown that animals can sometimes display empathy, even though that empathy maybe comes against their best wishes, like foregoing a treat to.
I'm not worked up, by the way. I'm not worked up in a negative way. I'm worked up in a I don't know, nice excited way. I just kind of like getting going, getting a bit excited, getting a bit energetic, trying to
reduce suffering.
You know what I mean? Just calling this as it is. I'm not angry or pissed. I'm more just like motivated to call out nonsense
to a fellow animal within their own species so they can display it. But animals don't need to display the same level of agency or morality that we do to deserve not to be arbitrarily harmed by us. The fact that we do have moral agency, the fact that we are intelligent enough to rationalize our decisions, and we have these attributes that do make humans unique, there's no denying that, but that creates a sense of responsibility for us to act accordingly. So they don't have to be at the same standard as us for us to not needlessly cut their throats.
Talking to a brick wall, mate.
I disagree with the fact that just because they need to factor into our moral calculus, it is a reason that we should not. It is a reason that we can impose our moral obligation on them. And I think that's the clear distinction, because my argument is every person should be allowed to make their own moral claim. And I say every person because I don't think animals can use a moral calculus. They might do things that we would say are right or wrong, but we are the ones assigning the moral value to their actions. I don't think an animal says this is right, this is wrong. An animal
But we
not
can.
arguing
We
that.
can, and that's the important point. Whether a cow can rationalize whether what they do is morally right or wrong is irrelevant. We can rationalize it, and we know that what we do causes them harm and takes their life from them. That's what we know, and morally we can decide whether that is right or wrong. So it's irrelevant what they can do; it's what we can do that matters.
And on that point, every person should be able to choose whether or not taking the life of that cow or their own personal convenience matters more.
Love that. So every person should be able to choose whether they want to, be racist or not, whether they want to hurt women or not. Because this guy's what I guess he's going to consider himself some kind of moral subjectivist of some sort, right? That's basically what he's trying to say. And when it comes to animals, he is. But let's be honest, when it comes to, and I hope Ed does this with him, when it comes to all these other things that he most definitely cares about, I bet he's not a subjectivist anymore. I bet he's more like objective, like, no, these things are wrong. But when it comes to an animal, each person should be able to decide whether they want to slit an animal's throat or not. I mean, it's just individual choice, right?
And do you use that same logic in other scenarios?
There you go.
So are you saying that morality is subjective so that anyone can decide what they want?
I am personally a relativist, which means I believe there is no absolute morality.
Sure.
I think that every person is free to decide whatever they believe is right.
Yeah. And act on that?
I think as long as they are not affecting other people that have a choice,
But why?
as
If
long
it's
as they're
relative.
not imposing their moral obligations on others.
I don't believe there's universal morality either. I'm not religious, but I also believe that morality it stems from our understanding of the impact that we have. I don't think we should view morality as being purely relative, because that means that there's no need for a judicial system. That means that there's nothing wrong when it comes to human oppression, because each individual's version of morality is only what matters, which means that anyone can do anything they want without fear of repercussion and without fear of it being immoral, because morals are relative to the individual. But that's not the world we want to live in, right?
Well, the world, a couple of things. One, when this is just generally how I defend my relativist argument in front of my friends, I would say that if every person is free to do what they choose, we will naturally form governments. Because I think in a state of nature where this world that you're describing, where anyone can do anything they want and it's not considered immoral, I think that's true. That's the world that exists. The thing is, when one person wants to tyrannize over 10 people, those 10 people can also unite to prevent the tyranny from occurring, I think.
Sure they can, but also outside of that...
Why even get into this at this point? Like, what's the point? And I think Ed, honestly here, Ed's letting him slip away from his personal account. Like, he's lost all personal accountability right now, because now they're discussing political ideologies. And when you get into political ideologies without holding somebody directly accountable, they can say whatever the fuck they want, right? It gets into this mode of like, oh, everything's a theory. We're just talking about theories here. We're just talking about stuff that's out in the ether. Like, who knows what this really means? It's just ideas. We're just exchanging ideas. It's like, no, it fucking isn't. We're not exchanging ideas here. We're exchanging words that directly will kill or not kill others, right? This is not like a fucking theory or a philosophy class. This little shit is directly defending paying people to kill animals, to kill and abuse animals. And what I think is happening here, and what I feel is going to continue happening unless Ed brings it back to the reality, is they're going off on some fucking philosophical tangent. And I know it's difficult. I'm not blaming Ed. I know it's hard to stay on someone when they're going off, like, to some philosophical tangent, and it's hard not to follow them off on that tangent. I've done it, and I've realized I've ended up like balls deep in some philosophical debate too many fucking times. But I think it's super important to try not to let it go there, and to try and keep someone grounded in the here and now, and remind them, actually, no, let's get back here. Your opinions are shit, and they're directly leading you to abuse animals when you don't fucking need to. I don't care about your philosophical, outlooks and your ideas of a utopia or whatever, this bullshit. No, talk about the here and fucking right now. Your idea of how the world should be is not what I'm interested in. We live now. And the way he's living, by the way, there is an easy way of getting around this. The way he's living now isn't even in line with his own subjective morality anyway. Because you just ask him, do you believe in animal abuse? Do you believe do you like it? Do you want it or not? Right? Your subjective morality, is it good or bad? It's bad. Okay, great. So therefore, why are you fucking doing it then? It's a crazy thing. And if, again, honestly, if he goes for this whole, well, I just think my pleasure's more important, get the fuck out of my chair. You fucking sociopath. Go away and do some serious introspective fucking thinking at this point. Like, why even waste your time talking to somebody who thinks their own personal pleasure is more important than someone else's life? Why even bother? Why even talk to them any more than that? Just tell them, fuck off. Don't even waste my time. But I know, look, if the video's rolling, you know, then you get some more stupid shit out of them. I would have gone, you know, double down on that if I were Ed in that situation. So I'd say, fine, okay. So you're telling me that slitting cows' throats and putting chickens, gassing chickens to death, or putting them in a massive macerator, depending on where you are in the world, you're saying those things are okay in your view because for you, your convenience is more important than that. Is this correct? Yes. So let's be clear. I could take you to these things, right? And you could look at the cow in the eyes, this baby boy cow, and watch as someone slits his throat, and you could see the chickens there, and would you still, at that moment, say your convenience is more important, just to want to make sure we go all the way through this? Yes, you're saying that? Great, thank you for the amazing footage. I've got some incredible fucking short videos I can make for that. So, yeah, see you later. Everyone's going to know what a complete psycho you are. And also, there'll be a ton of people who will go vegan because if they don't want to be anything like you. That is where I would go. I think where Ed's gone here is trying to convince this guy when clearly this guy has convinced himself that he's the most important thing in the world. So it's like, I think you're smashing your head against a brick wall at this point, Ed. And I would have just gone for the pure content at this point. I would have got him to bite the bullet on as much mental shit as I possibly could and made loads of videos from it and then showed people what they don't want to be like, basically.
Hurting someone else should be considered immoral. Like, let's say a situation where 10 people are harming one person and that one person can't stop them. Yeah. Are those 10 people justified to harm that one person because they've decided that individually they want to and morally they don't have a problem with that?
According to those 10 people, I would say they are morally justified.
To harm them, yes. Someone else, and you think that's fine?
I personally, so again, because I'm a relativist, I can have my own morality under that relativist framework.
Because I'm a relativist, I can say fucked up shit. This is what I'm trying to say. He's appealing to philosophical positions or his whatever it is, his moral theory or whatever, to try and justify saying fucked up shit. It's like, no, I know Ed's doing good now. It's like, hold him accountable to the shit he's saying. Forget what this nonsense he's saying about, oh, but I believe this. I don't care what you believe in. I care about what you're doing and what your answers are to these questions.
Stop them. You wouldn't say, hey, don't.
Because for me,
but you're imposing your morality.
This is good.
I'm not
isn't morally relevant.
imposing my morality. I'm acting based on my morality, which says when I see someone being harmed, I want to take action.
So your morality says that it's wrong. So you try and stop the people harming them by imposing your morality, which is that it's wrong. How is it not that?
My morality isn't that is wrong. It is that is wrong, but that's not why I'm acting. My morality is when I see someone being harmed, not when I see wrong being done, but when I see someone being physically harmed. Yeah. I want to step in.
And do you step in?
And I would step in.
So you're imposing your morality.
I'm not imposing. I am using.
You're stepping in. You're
correct. My morality is acting, but they themselves have a choice to act based on their I'm not forcing them to act based on my morality.
So you're trying to stop them.
Correct.
So you're trying to force them to
stop.
This is
great. This is great, Ed. I'm happy that you fucking caught this guy here.
Correct.
So you're imposing your morality.
So you're saying that by making them not act according to their morality, I am forcing them to act by my morality.
Absolutely. Yep.
Fair, as long as they are trying to act by their morality, they are still acting morally, correct?
No, I disagree.
I think you make a very compelling argument, though.
I
think, first of all, and just generally the vegan point, I think you are probably one of the most well-read, well-spoken people that I've ever run into on this point. So,
thank you.
Thank you for this conversation. And two, I think as I'm thinking about it more, I think you have an interesting argument about why relativism might be wrong. Again, this is something that I probably need to think about. I'm not going to change my entire paradigm instantly, but thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for the conversation. And look, this is why I do these discussions, is because I don't expect everyone to currently change their paradigm, currently change their mentality immediately, but I just hope that maybe we can have a conversation that causes both of us to think about things we don't often think about and stimulates maybe a dialogue afterwards with ourselves about these issues. I think that's what's really important. So I just want to kind of tell you what my version of morality is and how I assign my morals to others. I think that when I view myself as a human, I have given myself moral worth. I've assigned myself moral value. And part of the reason I've done that is because I'm an individual who has experiences and feelings and has the capacity to kind of suffer and feel pleasure and pain, just very simplistically. And so I recognize that, morally speaking, that causing another human harm, whether that's for racist reasons, sexist reasons, homophobic reasons, whatever reason it might be that we arbitrarily harm other humans, I recognize that that's morally wrong, because these humans, like myself, are individuals with subjective experiences, who are sentient, who suffer, who feel pain. They basically fulfill the criteria that I do, and it's that criteria that has given me moral worth and moral value. So I think that, morally speaking, we should try and reduce suffering where we can. We can never be perfect, though. Now, that's a very easy line to draw. Back in the day, we didn't think of animals as being sentient. We didn't think of them as being conscious. We thought they were kind of like automatons, you know, that we could just do what we like, and they were just these biological machines.
I think this guy still thinks that.
Didn't really have any capacity to experience or feel subjectively. But now we've learned that that's not the case. And particularly the animals who we exploit, they're very intelligent animals. Obviously, compared to us, we're more intelligent, but that doesn't mean that they're not intelligent. You know, they're still sentient, they're still conscious, they still have capacities to experience, suffer, feel pain, all of these things. And if I've assigned moral worth to my life based on that, and I've assigned moral worth to human life based on that, and I think that, morally speaking, we should reduce suffering where we can, as soon as I establish that the animals who we farm fulfill this same criteria that I've used to assign moral worth, my pursuit in the reduction of suffering has to encapsulate them. So I just think that morality is an ever-changing, ever-evolving thing based on knowledge and our understanding and our evolution as humans, both intellectually as well as physically. And that's why non-human animals deserve moral consideration, and just basic moral consideration, to not be arbitrarily harmed and killed.
Thank you.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
After all that.
Great day.
So basically, he just wanted to end the conversation, didn't he? I think that's pretty much what happened in the end there. I think he was getting absolutely bodied by Ed, and he realized he was, and he wanted to end the conversation, and basically took the L because he realized Ed wasn't going to back down. That's what it looks to me anyway. I don't know, man. I'm not convinced that guy listened. I'm convinced that he still thinks he's the smartest guy ever. He did concede in the end and said, maybe I'm not so good with that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe. But I reckon he's going to go away and not actually change at all. I mean, I would hope he would. But, like, I'm not buying it. I mean, I can check the comments here and see, you know, maybe this guy pops up in the comments somewhere. Sahil, his name is. Is he here in the comments at all, Sahil? I don't see him. He'd be a top comment, wouldn't he, if people were, you know, there. But I don't see him here. I'd like to follow up with this guy. And see, like, you know, see more about like what happened there. But no, anyway, I looked in the comments, doesn't look like he's there. Yeah, I just I don't know. I thought Ed was patient, and that's great. Ed does that. His thing is being patient, you know. But that dude, there was so much. There was just so much opportunity to show this guy's logic up and make him say some really stupid shit. And that's what I would have gone for. But we're just different. I think Ed is genuinely out there trying to change these people in the one-to-ones. Whereas for me, I see like a line. And when I cross this line, when someone sits there and says my convenience is more important, once they've said that, for me, it's like you cross the line now. From here on out, I'm just going to make you say the stupidest stuff I can think of, because you're going to say it because you've committed to this nonsense. And we'll just go, you know, we'll make a massive... you'll make a massive fool of yourself. And it's like, it's not difficult to make people make fools of themselves once you figure out what they believe in and you can expose how nonsensical it is. And some people might tell me, oh, but that's not a very nice way to make videos. But it's like, it's not like I'm tricking them. You know what I mean? Some people get upset when like, for example, the video I just made with this guy, when I said to him, he said, oh, but lions kill. And I said, oh, do you rape then? And he said, you know, and some people were saying like, oh, this isn't the way to do it. This is aggressive. Aggressive. All I did was literally take something he said he was doing because lions did it, and said, do you do this other thing lions do? I didn't make him look stupid. He made himself look stupid. It's not a difficult thing to make someone look stupid, to highlight someone's stupidity if they're being stupid. And you know, if someone's got the guts to stand there and say, I do what I do because lions do it, I mean, they should expect that someone's one day going to call that shit out and make them look like a right numpty. That's just the way it is. If I go out saying stupid things all the time, right? or if I go out and say things, I don't know, outlandish a lot, things that maybe I don't know they're outlandish yet, but if I'm putting myself out there in a conversation, I'm saying something with like, you know, vigor, and then someone spots a problem in it and they roast me for it right there and then. And they're like, I've got two choices here. I can either laugh it off and be like, "Do you know what, you're right," or I can get offended by it. And in that video that I just posted, that guy didn't get offended. He laughed it off. He was like, yeah, you're right. So where's the harm? It was funny. I was smiling as I said it, and he smiled back. Eventually, like, oh shit, you know. That happened a couple of times in this debate, actually. Well, not debate, in this outreach discussion. It happened a couple of times where he said something, I said something about why it was funny, and it happened the other way around too. Like, there was a couple of times where he made me laugh as well. You know, it's like, laugh it off. If someone points out something you've said as being silly, you know, and roasts you a little bit for it, well, you can laugh it off or you can get offended. And I think I'd love to see Ed roast a few more people, but then that's not Ed's MO. That's not what he does. And that's totally fine. I'm just saying, I'd like to, as Race Lever was just in the comments saying, I'd also like to jump out sometimes, just hide under the table and just like, I don't know, slap him every now and then. Not Ed, the guy he's debating, obviously, and slap him. But like, the power of vegan Jesus compels you. Stop talking shit. maybe that wouldn't make, well, I was going to say maybe that wouldn't make great content, but let's be honest, it would make fucking amazing content. What are you talking about? Me. Right, there's another video I wanted to see, this hunter and vegan debate. Oh, there's a few I've not seen even. So there's the Berkeley student is ready to debunk veganism. It gets heated, I'm going to guess. It gets intense. And then hunter and vegan debate, but not as you know it. Guys, what do you want me to do the next reaction to? What do you want me to look at? Ed debating a hunter, or this Berkeley student who is ready to debunk veganism? So let me show you the two of them. Hold up. You can see them there, right? You've got this one here. I've not seen that, by the way. It says I have seen it, but I haven't seen it. I maybe watched like 10 seconds of it at some point. But YouTube seems to think like that means you've... Anyway, whatever. The hunter or this guy, Berkeley guy? Hunter or Berkeley? Hunter or Berkeley? Berkeley has 99,000 views. Hunter has 75,000 views. Usually the view count means something about how good it is, but they're both up there with the view counts, guys. So Berkeley or Hunter, vote in the comments in the live chat right now. We've got one vote for Hunter. Someone's telling me to react to vegan gains, reacting to Earthling Ed. I'm not sure. Maybe. Is it entertaining? I've not seen vegan gains reacting to Earthling Ed ever, actually. I've not seen any of that. I guess the 2 a.m. vegan channel has that, right? Somewhere, I would guess, on their channel. So I'll go, maybe I could go and check that out. Okay, we got a few votes for Berkeley. So I guess what we'll do is then we'll do Berkeley first, because this one says it gets intense, right? So let's do that first. Oh, wait a second. Vegan Gaze is saying basically Vegan Gaze has a big problem with Ed's style. Really? That is interesting. He's not happy with Ed. What should we go see that then? Let's go see that then. Before we wait, yeah. Okay, let's go see. So the 2 a.m. vegan, I suppose, has that, right? Do you have that on your channel? Let's have a look. 2 a.m. vegan. Yeah, you have it there somewhere. Oh, here it is. Earthling Ed questioned about halal. Is that the one? Or why Earthling Ed is a terrible debater? Oh shit, that's the short summary of his views on Ed. Yeah, that's like 4 minutes 29. Okay, let's have a look at this then. Like, let's have a look at this one from the 2 a.m. vegan. You guys can also... Oh shit, yeah, I forgot you guys can see my screen. I was just like talking to my... Wait, can you still see the screen? Yeah, you can. All right, sweet. Here we go. Let's have a look then. What is this?
It seems that you have been spending a lot of time reacting to Earthling Ed debates. I'm thinking the reason for this is because you think he's debating is not the best. Why so? Is it because he doesn't use netet? Is it possible to debate veganism without netet?
Earthling Ed's a terrible debater, and it's not just because he doesn't use name the trait. His arguments are just fundamentally bad. Oftentimes, he doesn't even make arguments. So he calls these debates, by the way, not discussions, and he challenges people publicly to debates.
So I think, just want to quickly mention something there. I think if we're going by the like purest definition of what a debate is, then I think he's totally right. Ed doesn't debate people necessarily. He discusses with people, right? That's what he does. He does outreach discussions that often look like debates to someone on the outside, but when you get into it, they jump from point to point, right? They're like so there's an iceberg analogy, you could call it, where so how as my understanding of like an actual debate is that, okay, you have your debate point, the topic that you're going to debate, and then you put one point forward, and then you dig down deep to the bottom of that iceberg until you conclude that point that someone's made, right? So one person makes a claim, the other person, and you debate the claim, and then you don't stop until the claim's done. And yeah, someone moderating would make sure you didn't go off on tangents and get onto other points. And that's how a debate should be. How Ed does debates, or they're not debates, they're discussions, is it flips all over the place because it's an open discussion, it's not a debate. But the reason that Ed will put this up as a debate, and the reason I put these up as debates, is because discussions sounds boring. Let's be honest. This is social media, right? You put it forward as a debate, people get excited, it's spicy, it's it's like, oh my God, debate, yeah. But we all like the idea of debate, but when it's a discussion or, I don't know, conversation, I mean, that sounds boring as fuck, right? It's not selling it. So that's what I think is the reason that Ed would put debate, because that's the reason I put debate in my video titles when I know it's not a debate.
And then oftentimes he doesn't even make arguments. He just asks them questions endlessly.
Because it's a discussion.
And then they literally just give up because they're fucking bored. It's not even because like they're losing a debate or anything. They literally just get bored of listening to them. And then they're like, yeah, you make a good point. Bye, see ya.
Okay. Fuck. Hey, that's not even that's kind of true. Honestly, we just watched the video with Ed, and I think that's what happened. I think that guy he was debating or whatever with, I think he did leave because he was bored and he wanted to get out of the conversation. Unfortunately, I think that's true. And this is what I mentioned. When you're just banging your head against a brick wall with someone, rather than boring them and to the point where they just leave because they're bored, it could be a good idea to make them bite the bullet on some stupid shit and then end the conversation. I can't speak for Ed. I don't know why he does what he does the way he does it specifically. I don't know if he has like a method that he's trying to follow, that he's tried and tested. Because as far as I can see, unlike others like Joey, for example, Joey kind of explains why he does what he does. Ed, not recently, has not really been explaining that. As maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he's got a reason for doing what he does. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think Richard's right in this case that there are some people that leave Ed's conversations because they're just bored and they get bored of trying to they get bored of being wrong, I suppose. And because there's not much accountability held for them, like Ed's not telling them like you are this if you do that kind of thing, and he's not giving it to them straight, they leave kind of like, well, we can agree to disagree. And that's how it ends, I think, a lot of the times. That's how it can end. But yeah, so yeah, an interesting point by Richard there, the second one.
Like it's crazy, and he makes a lot of anti-vegan points when he's talking with these carnists too. Like he doesn't actually make arguments in favor of protecting animal rights. He usually relies on consequentialist arguments, and he also has a very anthropocentric ideas on morality. So he'll make statements like, oh, well, if you need to kill an animal to survive, then it's okay. Why is it okay? Are people more important than animals for some reason? Like, it's bizarre.
I think on that point, so the logical other way of that. So the thing is, right, I think, okay, here's what I would say to summarize what's going on here. I think Richard and a lot of other people in the kind of debate world operate on pure kind of theory and logic and philosophical kind of, philosophical debate world. That's what it is. It's kind of in a vacuum, isn't it? And yeah, he is probably, I don't know, I've not thought about this too much, but he's probably technically right if you were to say that, oh, you'd like what he just said, like why is your life more important than an animal, even if you're in a survival situation? The question is technically good, and he's probably technically right when he says you are anthropocentric or whatever, and that's bad. If you think that killing an animal in survival, in theory, he's right. In practice, if Ed goes out and says that, we end up with a load of people who say, wait a minute, so you're saying that if you're trying to say as a vegan that if we're in a survival situation, just die. That's what the conclusion is. And I suppose Richard might say, yes, just die. And that's fine for Richard, and in the debate world, that's fine. But if you're trying to influence people to listen to us, then telling them that they should die if they're ever in a survival situation rather than kill an animal is probably not going to win them over, right? So it's about being right versus being effective, I suppose. Being right versus being convincing, right? Now, yeah, as Annie's just put here, as the moderator just put, different strokes, different folks. Lots of people have been convinced by Richard. Lots of people have been convinced by Ed. So, I'm not necessarily saying who's right or wrong here, but intuitively for me, I would also say when people say to me, oh, but what about if it does island, blah, blah, blah. If I'm going to answer it, which I don't really like answering it because it's just bullshit and distracting. But I would say, yeah, if there's nothing else to eat, then, you do what you need to do to survive. It doesn't make it like a good thing to do that, but you will do what you do to survive, won't you? But we're not in a survival situation. So, yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons why he's a terrible debater. And it's not just because he uses name the trait. Oftentimes, he literally makes anti-vegan arguments. It's bizarre.
So is it possible to debate without using netet? Also by Earthling Ed asking carnists questions in his debates, I'm assuming he is using Socratic questioning, no? What can he do to improve?
Is this just like literally like Richard and multiple? Yeah, okay. I thought he was actually like reacting to a specific video or something like that. I don't know if I want to just hear like a summary of it. It's I guess you guys can tell me, is there anything in here that's worth listening to? I mean, I guess it's only like 2 more minutes. Okay, we'll keep going.
He's not using the Socratic method. If he was, he'd eventually make arguments, but he usually doesn't. I wouldn't call that the Socratic method. It just seems more like he's trying to make friends. If he was using the Socratic method, he would ask questions that establish their ethical framework and then make arguments against that ethical framework, but that's not usually what he does.
I've seen Ed do that a few times, though, to be honest. Or am I missing something? I feel like that's what Ed's trying to do, at least.
He usually just asks them questions, and then maybe he'll make arguments, but a lot of the time it's not even necessarily related to anything he asked. He also misses the opportunity to make a lot of really good arguments while asking questions. And it is possible to not use name the trait when debating veganism. The problem is we already have a very well-established, long history of human rights. We've established a very thorough moral framework for human rights. We have a very thorough legal framework for human rights. So if you're going to be an animal rights activist, it just seems like the most obvious strategy to argue animal rights from a human rights perspective. Like, the whole idea is to give animals the same rights as human beings. So running name the trait is obviously the best way that I know of doing that. I mean, you can use marginal cases. It's slightly different than name the trait, but it's pretty much the same thing.
I agree with him. I mean, I can tell you that the name the trait kind of argument and seeing how it works and going into some of the intricacies of it, not that I do it that often, to be honest with you, because, and this is probably where I can kind of empathize with Ed. It's name the trait comes up when someone tries to quote, I don't know, I would say when they try to say that animals are lesser, right? And that's why we can do what we do to them. Then when they go down that road of like human supremacy, that's when I would tend to move towards name the trait. But the conversation doesn't always go that way. which is why I wouldn't use it in every single conversation, only when they're trying to be like, I am elevated, I am better. Which I guess you could guide the conversation that way yourself if you wanted to, but then it could end up with just being, in Ed's case, it could end up to just being the same video over and over and over and over again, which it wouldn't be entertaining anymore. And you've got to balance like a good, strong argument and good debating, I suppose, with entertainment if you want to maintain a YouTube channel that is going to continue bringing people in to watch each video. Because if each of Ed's videos or my videos always just ended or had me doing name the trait every single time, like, yeah, it's probably the most effective way to get someone and convince someone, or at least show someone's flaws in their argument. But is it the most effective way to entertain? I don't know. Maybe not, right? Especially if people are just, people might get bored of it and be like, oh, you're just doing the same, you're saying the same stuff every video. But then again, Ed does say the same stuff every video. And I guess in every discussion, every debate, because what else can you fucking say? So I don't know, guys. I don't know.
So yeah, but thanks to the nation, Kamari. Beef. What a relief. When will this poisonous product see?
So that's okay. Interesting. I don't think there's anything really that spicy though, to be honest. He wasn't being as harsh as I would have imagined he could be. I've seen Richard a lot harsher on people before. So I think he was just offering some advice, really. I see he does respond to a few debates here, but they're like an hour long. So I don't think we're going to like react to him reacting to debates. 2 AM Vegan, if you're still watching, you could do, I mean, totally up to you, but you could do some like shorter versions of his reactions to debates, maybe just some like key moments where he like says something really important or whatever. I think that could be cool. But yeah, okay, interesting. So now we've looked at that, we can actually see if he's right, maybe, if Richard's right on any points, and we can have a little look and see what's what. So we're going to look at this Berkeley student one. I feel kind of bad for Ed right now. We're just kind of putting Ed on fire right now, putting him on blast. But it wasn't the intention of this stream. But I don't know, the dude's the most popular vegan activist out there. So of course we're going to talk about him, aren't we? Because this world we're in. I'm sure he's cool with it. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this Berkeley student. I honestly, from the thumbnail, do you know when you just like get an impression? I already don't like him. And it's just, it was kind of, the last guy I didn't immediately dislike. I just thought he had the douchey vibes. But this guy, I immediately don't like him. He looks like he's going to be he's smug. He's smug in the thumbnail, right? And he's smug in this picture here. He strikes me as smug. And I just know I'm not going to like him. All right. I know it's going to happen. Let's have a look.
I'm still eating my chicken. I'm still eating my pork. I'm still eating.
But it's not yours, is it? That flesh was not yours. That flesh belonged to someone else.
Well, no, I'm not gonna eat my own flesh.
You're eating someone else's flesh.
Yes.
So it's not yours.
No.
Oh no.
Today I'm at UC Berkeley, and I have a banner that says, "Why aren't you vegan yet?" You very kindly sat down to have a conversation with me, so I'm interested. What are your thoughts on veganism, and why aren't you vegan
What's
yet?
the mask, bro? Just take it off or put it on. Like, make a decision.
Well, I'm not vegan because I like chicken.
Yes.
I like pork.
Yeah.
I like eating all sorts of non-veg.
Yes.
Because I work out, I play sports, and I need the protein.
Sure.
If I was a vegan, what would I eat? And don't say tofu, because tofu gets repetitive and boring.
I like chicken, of course.
Yeah, no, chicken, you can cook it 100 different ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Which you can with tofu as well, of course. But the point of protein, right? Can you get protein from plant-based foods? Like chickpeas, legumes, lentils, tofu, tempeh, all those kind of foods?
What's the percentage of protein in chicken compared to like chickpeas?
Well, I don't know necessarily the percentage, but the percentage isn't what's relevant. What's relevant is the amount of protein that we get from plant foods and whether or not we can hit our daily requirements necessary, which we absolutely can. And people are much stronger probably and bulkier than myself can certainly attest to that.
Yeah, look at this guy though. No, I mean, look, no, Ed, come on. This guy's a fucking specimen. Look at him. He's absolutely, he's shredded under that t-shirt. You know he is. He needs more protein than everyone else, right? Come on, guys. Don't fuck around with this guy.
Well, I doubt that because like they don't have the literal strength. They're literally weak in that sense.
So vegan bodybuilders are weak?
No, vegan bodybuilders are strong, right?
So it is possible.
It is possible.
Okay.
But the determination is not there.
For you, it's not there.
So he's already there you go. First point's out. So can't get enough protein. Okay, so vegan bodybuilders though. Yeah, okay. I'm just not determined. Why do these people sit down? You know what I mean? I just why sit down and even have the conversation?
Me and literally like 65-70% minimum. You can be vegan if you're lactose intolerant because that makes sense.
Yes.
Because you're very restricted in your diet. Here, I can eat everything except beef because of my religion.
Sure.
So why would I not want to eat everything?
Well, because there's a moral implication of what we do to animals. Do you think that non-human animals deserve some moral consideration?
What?
Do you think that non-human animals deserve moral consideration?
Not really, because what are you going to do with a cow that you graze for like 5-6 years? What are you going to do with a chicken? Like, they're a literal source of food for you.
He's such a scumbag.
But do they have to be?
Yes, they do.
Why do they have to be?
Because if you let overpopulation of like chickens and cows go on, what are you going to end up with? You'll have
Maybe he's not a scumbag. I take that back. He's not a scumbag yet. Okay, because, you know, you can't call people scumbags because they don't know any better. All right, so take it back. He may be a scumbag at the end of the video, though. Let's see.
Do we have so many chickens and cows?
for eating.
But why do they exist in the first place? Not obviously for eating, but how do they get here?
I missed that. Why? Oh my God. What the fuck?
What are you going to end up with? You have
Why do we have so many chickens and cows?
for eating.
Oh my God, that is. Okay.
Why do they exist in the first place? Not obviously for eating, but how do they get here?
I have no idea what it's like. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Whichever one came first, it's the reason they're on this planet, right?
Okay.
So we decided to take advantage of that.
Right, yeah.
And we started eating them, and they
Okay.
tasted good, and we've continued to do that. And I love chicken, and I'm going to continue eating my chicken.
Okay, so right. So just to bring it back to the question I was asking, we slaughter 80 billion land animals. When we factor in fish, it comes to 2 trillion. But 80 billion land animals every single year. 72 billion of them are chickens. Where are those 72 billion chickens and 80 billion in total land animals? How do they get here onto this planet?
Reproduction,
Who reproduces them?
mating. The chicken mates with the chicken, or like what? Chicken hatches an egg.
Yeah.
Cows mate. I don't know what process they
But
have. Like it goes on and on. And the way you said 80 billion,
Yeah.
that is 10 times, more than 10 times our population.
It
So
is.
if we just let chickens and cows and other animals roam around, where would the space be on this planet for them?
Well, space is an interesting point. Obviously, we have them all at the moment, and we have problems with space because of the scale of animal agriculture and the land it takes up. But that's not the point. The point I was trying to make is we have all of these animals, and the reason we have all these animals is because we breed them into existence. So we facilitate the production of these animals. So if we want to stop the problem of overproduction and having too many animals for the land that we have, which is a big problem, we just have to simply stop breeding them into existence. If we stop breeding them into existence, then we won't have an issue of overpopulation. So the logic that you're using
not
right now
listening to
is,
any of
oh, we
this.
have to keep breeding them into
You'll see.
existence and killing them.
You'll see. I'll put money down now that he's not listened to a fucking word Ed just said. Ed's talking right now, and he may as well be speaking fucking Mandarin or whatever, a language this guy doesn't understand, because this is way over his head. This is actually a criticism of Ed at this point. He's speaking in language. This guy is clearly more simplistically minded, and that's not an insult. That's just a fact that this dude's not going to understand what the fuck he's saying right now.
Because if we stop
Look at his
killing them,
face.
we'll
Look at his face. He doesn't have a fucking clue what's going on. He doesn't know what day it is.
keep breeding them into existence. But if we stop breeding them into existence, we won't have that problem to begin with.
But you see, the thing is, it's already built in and it's already a problem, so you cannot change it.
See what I mean?
just-
He didn't hear any of that. He didn't listen to any of that at all. And he's just like, okay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's just the way it is. You can't change it. Because he didn't fucking listen.
So with dairy cows, the dairy farmer artificially inseminates them. So he has to take semen from a bull first. So he does that using either a device he puts in the bull's anus, or he uses his hands and uses a dummy. So if we want to stop the reproduction of dairy cows, all the dairy farmer has to not do is sexually exploit a dairy cow. You know, he just has to not make the bull get aroused and ejaculate, and he just has to not put the semen inside the dairy cow, and then we won't have that problem anymore.
Have you ever eaten chicken?
See, I'm telling you, this guy's not listening. This guy's not listening. A total numpty. 28 minutes of this. Oh my God, Ed. Dude. I don't think this is going to go anywhere. But we're going to watch it anyway, right? We're going to watch it anyway, aren't we? And by the way, guys, don't forget, if you've got something to say and you want to say something, you want everyone to see how fucking good you are, how amazing you are, you've got to use that Streamlabs link, guys. Use that Streamlabs link. Send a tip over this way, and I'll read your comment out right in front of everyone. And I'll tell everyone how amazing you are. And you'll be supporting the channel, right? You'll be helping me do more. More. And also stuff behind the scenes. You'll be helping me do that stuff as well, because I'm doing other stuff right now that when it comes to fruition, you're going to be very, very happy about. Okay, guys? We're doing some shit behind the scenes, and it's huge, right? So just, keep that in mind as we go forward. Be a fucking legend. Join the David Rams team. Join the Patreon. Join the YouTube memberships team. Or send through a little Streamlabs donation, and let's get this show on the fucking road. Let's do this.
Why did you change?
Because chickens are sentient beings, and my enjoyment of chicken flesh does not have higher value than the life of a sentient being. So what do you think is higher value, taste or life?
Well, I want to say taste, and I will say taste.
Total twat.
Because I'm not a cannibal, but like eating chicken, come on, you've eaten it, you know how good it tastes.
Sure, I liked how it tastes, but the question is, again, what has higher value, taste or life? For me, it was life. You said taste.
Yeah.
So when you say taste, what you're saying, because this is a moral issue and we're morally justifying what we do to chickens, we're saying that sensory pleasure morally justifies what we do to others. Do you agree with that? That sensory pleasure is a moral justifier?
Yes, I do.
Slap him. Time to slap him.
Okay.
Because like, if you were to cut down a tree, what do vegans even eat? Like, my first question is, what on earth do you eat as a vegan?
Well, I'm going to come back to the sensory pleasure thing in just a moment, but I eat all sorts of foods. So whereas
I would like to know, be specific. I want to know, what sort of food do you eat?
Okay, so I eat stir fries, pasta dishes, nachos, burritos, tacos. I eat burgers. I eat hot dogs. I eat all curries. I eat all sorts of dishes. I just take the chicken out and I replace it with chickpeas and sweet potatoes, or I take out the beef from the burger and I replace it with a plant-based alternative. It could be quinoa and black beans. It could be soy. It could be seitan. So I just make small differences. So you say that sensory pleasure does morally justify what we do to others. Can you think of any scenarios where that would be problematic?
He's going to say no. I already know he's going to say no, and I hope Ed allows him to say no.
With humans?
Okay.
Okay. All right. He's not being that insincere, dishonest.
So be more specific.
You can't kill a human.
Okay, but what if it feels good?
Well, then you're free to do it.
Okay, so if it feels good, you're free to do it.
Yeah, if you want to kill a human and eat them, you'll be judged by society, right? But if you want to keep doing it and you don't give a shit, sorry for the language, if you don't give a shit about people's opinion, go ahead and do it.
So you think that okay, so someone could murder someone else, and as long as they feel good about it, that's fine.
See, I'm in a liberal country, state, most liberal I think. You can go on and do anything over here and they'll accept it, because freedom of speech, America's #1.
Murder? They accept murder and rape and sexual exploitation?
Well, I don't know, you say you don't go to Berkeley, but you've seen the number of warn-me's. You won't have seen the number of warn-me's. People are just on the street, and it gets dark very quickly these days. People get scared. So you could be raped, killed, and like, you don't know what's happening after that.
But that's not moral.
Oh my God, man. This guy's dangerous. Someone should fucking keep an eye on this dude. He should be on the FBI watch list after this shit. He really should, because he sounds fucking dangerous if he believes this stuff, doesn't he?
Morally justifiable, right?
It is not.
Right.
But in case of like animals, look at how much global warming a cow causes.
Yes.
As opposed to a human. We do play our fair share of like global warming, but a cow is like twice as much as us.
So just imagine now, guys, like, he could have been crust in the bottom of a sock, but instead he ended up being this. Like, honestly, I'm not an antinatalist. I've not been completely convinced yet. But I'm getting there thanks to this guy. Like, I'm getting over there, you know? This guy and the last guy are making me really feel like I don't want to risk bringing someone this dense into the world. You know what I mean? And if any of you guys are having kids, I mean, God, that's a risk, isn't it? That they end up being like this. I mean, you can do your best to make them not like this, but oh my God, if this is an argument to spunk into a sock, if there's an argument to spunk into a sock, this is the one. Or a poshy. You up to a poshy, you know, get a condom, do it into, I mean, just pull out, just, I don't know, in the shower, just anything but this, anything but creating this.
Well, a cow only produces the emissions because we breed them in for our purpose. So the emissions caused by a cow are our emissions because we are breeding them into existence to kill them. So the emissions caused by animal agriculture, it's not the animal's fault, it's our fault for breeding them and then raising them in the way that we do.
So should we like stop breeding humans? I'm just wondering, because we cause global warming, so should we just stop birthing any other human? Like,
If they're gonna end up like you, mate, definitely.
every guy has to get a vasectomy, and for
That's not the argument I'm making. I'm talking about the moral issues of what we do to animals. And with humans, I think we should absolutely be aware of how many children we're having and the environmental costs that can have. But I'm talking about the moral implications of what we do to non-human animals. With humans, we don't raise them by the billions and then cut their throats when they're a matter of months old, thankfully. So when we're talking about what we do to animals, again, we're trying to find out how we morally justify it. Now, initially you said sensory pleasure, but then you said, well, actually, no, murder and rape and these things aren't morally justifiable, even if they do feel good to the person who's committing the violent action. So you've contradicted yourself there. So do you agree that sensory pleasure is not a moral justifier?
rape was your one-off because murder is the same thing we're doing to the animals. If someone gets sensory pleasure from murdering another human, again, either you stop them or you let them go about their business and continue murdering people.
Do you think that it's morally justifiable?
Personally, it's wrong.
Right.
But
why is it wrong? Why is it wrong?
Well, murder is just murder. I don't know.
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong to murder someone?
What answer do you want?
The answer that you think?
Well, I don't have to say like it's wrong because it's wrong. It's like
Why is it? When we kill someone, there has to be a reason why that killing is wrong. And I just want to know why you think it's wrong.
why would you take a human life? Because a human could be potentially beneficial in solving global warming.
He just made that up right now. Like he doesn't believe that.
So the reason that murdering a human is wrong is because that human could potentially be beneficial in solving global warming. It's got nothing to do with the individual.
We're at Berkeley, and Berkeley is known for academia. We can do research all we want, search up like ways to help solve global warming. Whereas for a cow, what do I expect a cow to do?
Oh, God,
like,
guys.
But why does a cow have to do anything for you to deserve the right to live a life free from being harmed by you? Now, I just want to bring it up. You're talking about that it's wrong to kill a human, but you haven't told me why. What is it about a human being that makes causing unnecessary harm to them morally wrong?
they can help the environment.
But what if they don't?
Is he like, he came up with that about a fucking 30 seconds ago. Now he's gonna like go on and try. He's married to this point, and he's smiling here because he's a smug prick. Remember before the video started, I said I already know he's a smug prick. I've not seen this video, guys. I promise you, I've not seen this, and he's a smug prick. And I knew before we started, and I knew once we got into it that he's a smug prick. And I'm happy. I feel vilified now. Is vilified the right word? No, is vilified the right word? Hold up. Let me check my dictionary, guys. Vilified is when you like, you get what you know. No, that's wrong. Fuck. What's the word? What's the word where it's like, fuck. Do you know what? Like not living in England for so long has really screwed me with my see, exactly. I don't even know what that word is. Vindicated. Thank you, Olawale Blue. And I bet Olawale Blue is not a native English speaker. I feel like non-native English speakers know more English, like the meaning of words, and you know have a wider vocabulary than natives, because you guys get taught it at school in a way that we don't. We don't get taught like in anywhere near as much of like a what do you call it? Like detail as you guys do. But thank you, vindicated is the word I'm looking for. I feel vindicated now because I knew this guy was a smug shit before the video started, right? And he is a smug shit.
What if they say to you, I don't care about the environment, I'm not going to help the environment? Does murdering them now become acceptable?
Well, no, but they have a brain. See, humans have evolved. we have a much higher
The only
thinking
ones
capacity.
evolved. Every life form, every sentient being on this planet has evolved.
Okay, I meant like in terms of thinking, we are supposed to be the smartest species on the planet.
Oh, okay, sorry. Ollie Blue says English is my mother tongue. Well, still amazing that you got it. Thank you. I'm just saying, in general, I feel like because I actually spend a lot of time with people who aren't English, and oftentimes I miss words or like, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking for a word, and usually they have the answer. So I'm just saying, it's it's impressive. But yeah, still impressive. Thank you for giving me the word.
So intelligence defines worth of life?
To an extent. To an extent, yeah.
Sure. Okay, but that doesn't make what we do to animals morally justified. What all that says is, in a situation where you had to choose between saving the life of a human or a chicken, if you had to make that choice, you could morally justify saving the life of the human. But we're not in a situation where we have to choose one or the other because we don't have to kill the chicken. So we'd go human, chicken, or neither. So even if you think that humans have more moral value because of their increased cognition, that doesn't mean that arbitrarily harming chickens is now morally acceptable when we don't have to.
Okay. But what if the chicken is like, you have 80 billion animals, right?
That breed them into existence.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you get a chicken that is not being helpful. You see, you can get potential out of it by like murdering it. You can get profit. You can make money off of a chicken that's not doing anything for you. So in terms of now profitability,
Yeah.
if you have a liability with you, which is like a chicken, for example, or a cow that's not doing anything, a cow will not give you enough dairy, or it's not being useful, you just kill it and sell the meat, make money.
Yeah.
Start
So
the
it's
process.
okay to unnecessarily harm someone else if you can profit from doing so.
Well, we don't consider chickens, we don't define chickens like he, him, they, them. We just call it an it.
But is that true? Are they an it?
Yeah, in my opinion, they are an it.
But are they a sentient being?
They
Do they
display
have
that.
genders?
Yeah.
So they are he's and she's, and therefore they and thems when they're in groups as well.
Let me repeat what I said earlier. I think I feel like this guy's Indian because he used the words non-veg earlier on, and he is obviously not white, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just make the assumption that he's Indian. And again, Indians have been through so much shit in Western countries. Indians have been treated like dirt on people's shoes. They have literally had like, there was like an event in history in India which could be described as a Holocaust of Indian people by the British. They have been really treated really fucking badly, right? They've been treated like it's, yeah? So to have this dude, okay, he's Kenyan, whatever, okay. If the dude's Kenyan, then the point still stands, actually. My point maybe is even more fucking valid if the dude's Kenyan, right? So the point is, people like him and the people who, like his ancestors, his family, have been treated like shit at the hands of other people, right? They've been treated like it's. They've been treated like they're lesser than. And people like Ed stood up and said, no, this is fucking bullshit. People like Ed back then, and they fought and fought and fought to give these people equal rights to the people ruling the world who make those decisions, right? So again, it just baffles me to see someone sat there and completely disregard all of that to make the arguments that people would have made against people like Ed back then when people were trying to defend people like him. Are you following me here? It's just sick, guys. It's sick.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
And it's
So-
disappointing as fuck. It's like, as someone with this history, you should be empathetic to others currently going through horrific shit. Like, you should have empathy for those that are lesser than, that those that are now treated like the lower members of society, even if they're different species, because at one point in history, people like him were also considered as to not be the same species as people that look like Ed, for example. Like some moronic scientists and try to make these claims way back when. So it's like, know your history, know this has been done before to people like you. Don't do it to animals, dude. Like, am I wrong here? Is this problematic? Is this something that shouldn't be said, or is it? I mean, it's fucked up, isn't it?
Oh, just to bring it back to the argument that you were saying, is it morally acceptable to unnecessarily harm someone else as long as you can profit from doing so?
In the case of animals, I see no harm.
But the thing is, like I just said, people like him were once perceived as being animals, right? So they were abused for the same reasons he is currently abusing non-human animals. So it's mental. And I would have brought this up. I know it's spicy, and I know it would have caused probably a fight or whatever with this guy. It would not have helped this guy realize, most likely, just get offended. But think about the video. Think about the impact it would have on a wider scale. That's why when I'm in these situations, I'm thinking about the video and how I can impact the wider scale. I don't necessarily focus on the individual unless they're very, very open, which this guy isn't. So you might as well go hard. Go hard, Ed.
So what is the difference between an animal and a human that makes arbitrarily and unnecessarily harming a non-human animal morally acceptable?
I think you're going in a circle around.
Yeah.
You're going in a circle, right?
Because we're not actually addressing the questions properly.
I am saying chickens, cows, fish, every other animal.
Dogs, cats, whales, dolphins, lions, hippos, elephants.
Yeah.
So every other single species of animal except a human.
Except a human, right? If you kill them and eat them, well and good. If you somehow want to like become a murderer, kill a human and eat them, go ahead. Like, who's gonna stop you? Like, you can.
Hopefully, compassionate people that understand the difference between right and wrong.
This is it, right? This is absolutely what I would like Ed to be doing here is pushing him on something that's close to home and that hurts him. Like, ask him, okay, where are you from? Okay, historically, your people were used for slaves, right? They were used by people like me as slaves. So, are you saying that's morally justified because it brought convenience and pleasure to people like me, and that I could do that right now? Or would you like to say that, no, you and your people don't deserve that, never deserved that, and you're happy that this no longer happens? You know, which is it, dude? Because when he's talking about murder, it's like it doesn't impact him unless he's the one being murdered. And that's something that's difficult to imagine, isn't it? Like me being murdered. But like, I'm sure he knows the history, if he is Kenyan, of his people. I'm sure he knows the history, right? So, or if not, educate him on the history. And I know Ed's not going to do that because it's too spicy and it's not Ed's style. He is very politically correct. I think Joey would potentially do something like that because he's a little bit less PC. I know I would 100% would do that. And I think it's worth bringing up. I really do.
And understand that causing needless harm
Whatever it
should
takes
be
to
considered
make it-
wrong.
Right. So I'm seeing you with an open mind, and I see where you're coming from. But as for chickens, cows, fish, and all,
and every other single species of animal except a human.
because this problem has been existing way longer than we have, we've got mass production of this.
But the problem can't have existed longer than we have. We created the problem.
I'm pretty sure fish existed before we did.
Yes, but I'm talking about the human-inflicted exploitation of animals in farming systems.
Yeah, so if we let like fish breeding is natural because we don't go under the ocean and like mass breed like fish or something.
Sure. Apart from fish farms, we do in fish farms.
We have fish farms, but the size that we get out of it is not as much as like the ocean.
Yeah.
So in that term, you will have a very large amount of fish. And
so now, because of the fishing industry, we take 0.8 to 2.3 trillion fish out of the oceans every single year.
Honestly, I don't see, like, I actually kind of lost the point here. How did we just go from this guy saying that murder's okay to now talking about fish? I mean, how are we not sticking to that point at this point and pushing further and further on this? It just seems like, what's the point of... I just don't really... Yeah, this is down to what I've said with some of Ed's other videos that I reacted to, and I did like a 12-hour reaction, you know? It seems like sometimes, like, what's the point here? Because, yeah, Ed's dropping all the fact bombs, and that's great, but it's like, okay, who's benefiting from them? This guy surely fucking isn't. And then it's like, what we really want to see is this guy being fully held accountable for his dumb shit, right? I feel like that's what I'd want to see more of, pushing him really fucking hard on his shit until he either leaves because he's angry or until he concedes, one or the other. I think I wouldn't give him the chance to like sit and feel comfortable here. He shouldn't be feeling comfortable, this guy. He should feel like crap, I feel. I see a comment to Louis Ghetto saying, not all Indians or Kenyans were enslaved. Ed doesn't want to assume something when it's not necessary. Well, no, I didn't say they were all enslaved, did I? But I did say some were, right? So it is a good thing to bring up. Why not bring up this guy's past? Why not bring up something that he connects with to make him connect with the current situation? Because clearly he's not connecting with what Ed's saying, which is why he's saying such stupid shit. He's not connected with murder, right? If any of this guy's family had been murdered, he would connect with the idea of murder a lot more, right? But he doesn't. And this is where I think bringing up some history that would most likely upset him, because it's about or not upset him, but like at least bring some emotion to it, make him give a shit a little bit about his ancestors, and maybe he has, knows of history of his country and how his country has been exploited and blah blah blah. Just maybe he would for a second stop speaking like a robot and actually be like, no, that bothers me. Great, we found something that bothers you. Let's talk about that then, and let's try to make you make a connection. That's what I would think to go for, to be totally honest. I see Josh Banks is asking, have you heard about the human blood farms in India? Humans treated just like we treat cattle. Yeah, I did read about that. And they actually did these blood farms on dairy farms, believe it or not. So I'm actually gonna look into that as well, for sure.
And that doesn't even
Maybe
talk
do a
about
video
the
about it.
whales and dolphins and turtles. So the fishing industry destabilizes these natural population sizes.
The fish and the whales and the dolphins, that is plastic, and I am against that, right?
Why is it wrong to kill a whale or a dolphin?
I didn't say it's wrong to kill a whale or a dolphin. Like,
So
I think
what are you
everyone's
against?
right.
I am against the fact that you think being vegan
Yeah.
is the right way to go. I mean, as much as you see chicken, cows, and whatever as sentient animals,
It's not that I see them as, it's that they are.
and that they are sentient animals and all,
Yeah.
why would I not want to get my fair share of protein?
Because you can get your fair share of protein from someone who hasn't had to suffer from a plant that doesn't have sentience.
Are plants sentience?
No.
Why not?
Well, they
Why
lack
waste
a brain,
time?
a nervous system, consciousness. They don't have conscious responses.
This
they
is a
have
fucking waste of time.
reactions.
I'm
to-
sorry. I don't want to be mean here, Ed. I'm not aiming to be mean. I know how this is. Ed's just going through the motions, doing his job. But, I mean, yeah, you've got to realize this guy is not here to learn. He is here to waste time. He is bored. He wants to wind you up, dude. He is not interested in learning. He's not interested in a normal conversation. He's here to wind you up and be a dishonest, smug little prick. That's what's going on here. And someone's commented saying it's gonna get more heated. Well, good fucking. I really hope it does, because so far Ed's been very polite, and I think it's getting to the point where this guy's clearly here to be a dick. And I hope Ed gets a bit more spicy.
Stimuli.
Come on, Ed.
They display the 7 characteristics of living animals, so that makes them sentient.
You're confusing intelligence with sentience. Now, an AI robot is intelligent and can do many things like display, movement.
Wasting your time with this. At this point, he does not give a shit about these points Ed is bringing forward. I feel like there's no point. I feel like, I've already said what I think. I think we just need to go straight for the bone, straight for the throat with this guy, and just start putting down his arguments for the stupid things they are.
And react, but that doesn't mean they're sentient. And so when we look at sentience, what we're looking for is conscious individual responses. Hence why some pigs can become scared, some pigs can be happy.
By the way, I see a comment here from Louis again, saying, "What if his family were the ones doing the exploiting and enslaving, and he's okay with that? Assuming it's necessarily an effective tactic to bring the past up is not a good assumption." Are you actually for real right now? If you brought that shit up to him and he was like, "Actually, my family was the one doing it, so I'm cool with it," you think that's good for him? You think that's not good for us, bro? No, that is a great tactic to bring up the past, because it goes one of two ways. Either he's against what happened in the past, which is good because then we can connect him, or he's for what happened in the past. And that's great because then we've got a guy who's pro-slavery and anti-vegan, which is amazing for everybody else watching. Think about it, bro. Come on. It's not always about convincing the guy in the chair. It's also about the impact it has on the wider world when they see this video.
Dogs can have panic attacks. They react to stimuli based on their individual experience.
Right, so I just want to know, have you had a conversation with a chicken and he said,
He's
like,
not fucking interested in the plant. You see that? Wasting time explaining this stuff to this kid.
it's not good to kill me.
Well, I can't speak many other languages, so I could have a conversation with someone from Thailand and not be able to understand that either.
That's true, but
So does that mean I'm accepted to kill them because I can't have a conversation with them?
Yeah.
no. Again, I've told you, humans is a separate case. Let's stick on the animal.
Why? Okay, but we haven't decided why. Why? What's the difference morally between a human and every other species of non-human animal? Why are humans? What is it about them that uniquely makes them only worthy of moral consideration?
So that's kind of like name the trait, right? Basically, is what he's done there, which is what Richard was criticizing him about not doing. But I feel like isn't that is basically name the trait put in a more like friendly discussion style, I suppose.
There is cannibalism that exists.
Okay, take cannibalism out of the equation, just you and I. Why is it to you, what is it about humans that make them the only species of animal out of the thousands of species that exists that deserve moral consideration?
They're not. Have you seen elephants, the poaching that happens?
Yeah.
Very many people are against that.
Are you against it?
I am against poaching.
Why are
yes.
you against poaching?
Because why are you taking off the tusks of an elephant?
Well, because they want to, like you want to kill a chicken for food.
Well, I'm eating it. I'm going to do something with it.
They're selling the tusk, and you said before that, well, what's the good of an animal if they're not doing anything for me, so I might as well use them and sell them for profit. Well, that's what poachers do. They go, what's this elephant doing for me? I'm going to shoot them, take their tusks and sell them.
You can't really breed an elephant because
Well, actually, captive breeding of elephants is tricky. It doesn't work, which is why zoos have so many problems with it. So you're right about that. But that point aside, you earlier said the reason it was acceptable to kill chickens and cows, one of the reasons you said is because these animals don't do anything, and if they're not helpful to us, then we should be able to use them for profit. Well, elephants aren't helpful to us, and the poachers think the same thing, so they kill them for profit.
See, here's the thing. California may not have very many natural reserves,
Sure.
but in Kenya we have the Masai Mara.
Yes.
Biggest, it's a world wonder of the world, right? We have tons of elephants.
Yeah.
It's a touristic attraction.
Yeah.
A lot of people get income from that.
It's a good industry.
Right. It's a very good industry.
Agreed.
We have very many animals that provide this benefit.
Yes.
I'm not going to pay money to go look at a chicken run around.
Okay, but does
Right.
are you against poaching because it's bad for the elephant, or are you against poaching because it's bad for the economy?
It's bad for the elephant.
So what is it about the elephant that means that they deserve moral consideration? Because what we were talking about then is the economy, so they're good for tourists, they're good for people, the humans in that scenario. So what is it about the elephant that makes poaching them wrong?
The fact that they're more endangered, they're not being bred in 80 billion annually.
What about the individual elephant? Because let's say that there was no population problems. Let's say that they weren't endangered, that they were healthy population sizes of animals. Is it still wrong to then kill an elephant even if it didn't have it didn't cause a problem to the population health of the elephant?
That would still be wrong.
Okay. So why is it still wrong then?
I have no answer for that, right?
Why don't you? Because
Ooh,
that's what you think.
interesting, huh?
So just tell me why you think it.
Because he knows he does have an answer, and he knows his answer goes against everything he's already said. This is the most dishonest little shit I've ever seen Ed debate. I genuinely feel like, no, I mean, yeah, I think this is the most dishonest guy I've ever seen him debate. He knows his answer goes against everything he already said. So that's why he's like, I don't have an answer for that, because he doesn't want to concede once. He's not conceded once. That girl he debated, the woke one, was similarly bad. You know, she would not concede once, and this guy is doing the same thing. I think those two are the worst.
I think chickens deserve.
What about the elephants?
Elephants don't deserve to, in my opinion.
But what is it about an elephant that means they don't deserve to?
I've never eaten an elephant.
But that point aside, even if you haven't eaten them, what about an elephant means that it's not right for them to be killed as individuals?
I don't know.
But you said it.
do
This is
know
your
that.
this is your opinion, your belief.
Yeah.
So why do you believe that?
You can be raised with beliefs and follow them. You don't always have to have a reason unless you want to challenge the status quo. So I believe elephants should not be poached and killed and everything because it's a belief that I've been
Where does it come from? What is it about an elephant?
past generations.
So you have no idea you don't understand your moral code beyond it's the moral code you were raised with.
I do see the way that elephants are killed in the news, and that's very brutal and inhumane.
What about in slaughterhouses? Is that not brutal and inhumane as well?
No, it's very straightforward. You just chicken's neck.
And with an elephant, they just shoot elephants. So would you rather be shot or be put in a slaughterhouse? I would rather just be shot, but I wouldn't want
I'd rather
either.
be put in a slaughterhouse.
Okay.
Of
So
course,
what
you'd say the opposite.
So what happened? So
Was
you
that
drive.
Hudson laughing there? Was that Hudson? Was that you, bro?
So what you'd like then is to be raised in a farm, to be mutilated, so have your genitals mutilated, to have part of your body mutilated, and then to be taken to a slaughterhouse and have your throat cut. You think that's a humane method of killing an animal?
Yeah.
What is? Oh, he's a proper cunt, isn't he? I think Ed. I agree with what Rena just said. I think Ed's on good form now. Like, he's cornered him to hopefully make him admit to his own hypocrisy. I agree. It took 20 minutes to get to this point, but I agree. I think Ed's on the fucking. Oh, he's on the hunt now. He smells blood, and Ed's going in harder than he usually goes. I like it.
What does the word humane mean?
Not a clue.
Okay, so when you use the word humane, you're obviously using it because you have an understanding of what it means, right?
Smug.
So what does the word humane mean?
It means in a way that
But
you inflict the least amount of pain when killing someone.
But I have to admit that I have to agree with Vegan Gains, Richard, a little bit. It took 20 minutes to get here, and the guy he looks bored to me, tired and bored. And I think we could have established that he is a troll of some sort, or not taking this seriously, or being dishonest. We established that in the first 6 minutes. We could have had another 20 minutes of Ed hunting him down, humanely, of course, and morally slaughtering him. And, I think that could have been earlier on, and it could have, I feel like it could have been done. Like, now we've got 8 minutes left, or less than 8 minutes left of the video, and it feels like it's only just getting going. And I wish we could have got to this right at the start. But there's no criticism of Ed, because at the end of the day, I know how these things can go. You can't always control how it goes. You can't always control how you feel and how you're feeling on the day. And on any given day, it can go one way, it can go the other way. You can feel one way, feel the other way. I get it. I'm not criticizing Ed. I just wish it had got to this point about 20 minutes ago.
Okay. So let's open up a thesaurus, because that's not quite right. But you're on the right path though. So let's open up a thesaurus and find the word humane. So now we're looking at synonyms, so words that mean the same. What words do we see for the word humane?
Kind, gentle, remorseful.
Right.
Stuff like that. So, yeah.
You're absolutely 100% right. Yeah, it's like compassion, kind, benevolence. Is it kind, compassionate, or benevolent to needlessly take the life of someone who doesn't have to die?
Who said the chicken doesn't have to die?
Well, by the virtue of it not being something that we have to eat to survive. We don't have to eat chickens to live, so therefore they don't have to die. So we don't have to eat chickens, yes or no?
We don't have to, but because most people like eating chicken, they should be allowed to.
But there's a difference between a like and a need.
Yeah.
So just to bring it back again to the question I asked, is it kind, compassionate, or benevolent to needlessly take the life of someone who doesn't have to die?
Well, if they can do it in a humane way, then go ahead.
But the point of the question I'm asking you is we established that the word humane means compassionate, benevolent, and kind. Right. So the reason I ask you the question about it being kind, benevolent, and compassionate is to make the point that in the absence of it being able to be those three things, it can't be humane either. So let me ask you just again, is it kind, compassionate, or benevolent to needlessly take the life of someone who doesn't have to die?
And I'm going to ask you again.
Oh, you little shit, answer the question.
Who said the chicken doesn't have to die?
You did. I said, do we have to eat chickens? And you said no. You said they don't have to die.
We need to, but we do because it's our liking. A liking drives obsession, an obsession to eat chicken. And because we have that obsession to eat chicken, we breed more, we kill more, and we eat more.
But it's not a necessity.
But because it has become an obsession becomes a necessity.
There's a difference between an obsession and a necessity, right? So you want to eat chickens because you like how they taste, but you don't have to eat chickens.
Where's Will Smith?
But if I have
Someone call Will Smith.
grown up eating chicken, I've been accustomed to the taste, I love it, then I will want to continue to eat chicken.
But you don't have to.
I can give you a very specific example, right?
Yeah.
I am a Hindu, right? So we don't eat meat. Well, I don't, in my family, I eat meat, but on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays, I'm not supposed to eat meat.
So you're not a Hindu then, is what you're saying, basically.
Did you do or you don't?
I'm not supposed to.
Do you?
Tuesdays I don't, because Monday and Saturday I can't control the food over here. Sure. I have to eat the meat.
Sure.
What the fuck is he just saying?
Right? And I need my protein intake, and all they have over here is tofu. So I'm stuck with nothing but tofu and some really rubbish tasting other food. Like they have
He's
some
a fucking student at Berkeley saying he can't get anything other than meat. Oh my god. Oh, these first world privileged little pricks, huh? My god.
vegan meatloaf, and I'm like, what the hell am I eating?
Vegan meatloaf, probably.
There's a fake Hindu, rich ass, privileged little shit at a university in USA saying that he has to eat meat, even though it's against his religion, because there's just nothing. There's nothing else. There's just nothing else.
Yeah, vegan meal, and I'm like, this tastes like rubbish. So I want to eat something that's tasty and will provide me a sufficient amount of protein.
Okay. Which you can get from the tofu and the meatloaf that's probably made with things like lentils and beans and such.
Which is not provided on the UC campus, just to be clear. It's not provided.
Okay. I don't necessarily know the UC campus, UC Berkeley campus food stuff, but the point still remains is that you have the options. You don't have to. And even the situation you're describing, you're not justifying consuming animals every single day, which is probably what you do, right? Apart from the Tuesday where you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So you haven't justified consuming animals. You've just said that on Saturdays you don't like how the vegan meatloaf tastes. Okay, well, a chicken doesn't want to be killed, and your displeasure from eating a vegan meatloaf one day does not mean that it's acceptable to cut the throat of a sentient being who doesn't have to die.
Yes, you are right.
Okay, right.
You have your fair points on the vegan take.
Thank you.
But I still think that mass killing of chickens is wrong, right? But you can kill an acceptable amount. Because
it's an acceptable amount. So we say 72 billion is wrong. That's mass killing. How many is acceptable to kill?
I feel like, by the way, he just said that Ed's right because he's bored and wants to end the conversation. His eyes, his bags under his eyes have gotten darker and darker as this conversation's gone on. And I think he's just totally done.
enough to suffice the population per day.
So the number we currently kill then?
Okay, yeah, then that one. 72 billion.
So
By the way, where the fuck is vegan deterioration at this point? I mean, look at Ed's eyes.
have a limit.
Okay, it looks pretty healthy.
There is a point where it's no longer acceptable.
If you
But
exceed
72
one,
billion, that's fine.
We exceed 100 billion.
Look at this guy's eyes.
And you
Look
can
at those bags. Surely that's a vegan deterioration thing here. We need to compare these two, huh? One of them's a full-on meat eater. One of them isn't. One of them looks, you know, he's got bags under his eyes. Isn't that one of the things that she goes on about?
I can give you my Instagram. You can tell me if we exceed 100 billion, I'll become vegan.
So killing 99.99 billion, that's
I'm
fine.
listening to this guy's fucking nonsense, and I've the reason I'm not really reacting to what he's saying right now is because he said so much and said so little at the same time that I'm just at the point where I'm like, is it fucking meme, isn't he?
So that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about the 99.99 billion that would be fine to kill? What about them? That's made up of individuals. Why is it acceptable to kill an individual animal when we don't have to?
It becomes an obsession, eating the chicken. The obsession will become a need because you need to eat it.
By the way, let me pause for a second. I realized I missed a few bloody tips. DJ Lernal says, guy with chin nappy is smug as fuck. I agree. You are completely right. Thank you for your tip. And I'm sorry that I missed it earlier. My alert box here on oh God, my alert thing here wasn't working correctly. And I've just realized, guys, that it wasn't working correctly. But now it is working correctly. So all of your donations are going to pop up nice big on the screen. And I will respond to all of them. Galactopus said, I'm amazing as fuck, and everyone will know it now if they already didn't know it. When I wake up in the morning, the sun high-fives me and tips its hat. Thank you for giving me this platform to express how I'm absolutely crushing it. Keep on ramming. Galactopus, you couldn't be more right if you tried. You are amazing. You are just the best of the best because of your tip. So thank you for your tip, and keep on being the best that you can be. And Mark also super chatted and said, only when reverence for life is the universal core value can humanity consider itself civilized. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mark, for that inspirational quote. And you're 100% correct. Thank you so much for all of your tips. And keep them coming, guys. I will read them all out. And everyone will know how awesome you are, just like everyone now knows how awesome Mark is, how awesome Galactopus is, and how awesome DJ Lernal is for giving me just the tip. And, you know, that's all I ask, guys. I only ask for the tip. I cannot take the full amount, okay? I can't take the full girth and the length. I can only take the tip, but I will happily take it. And thank you for supporting the channel. Not sure where I was going with that. Abandon ship. Let's
You don't have to eat it.
go back to
As
the
a
video.
campus student,
Safety.
I'm
You
telling
don't
you,
have to eat the chicken. There are
I'm
plenty of
telling
vegans here that can attest to that. Yeah, such as one, and the organisation organised me being here, for example. So I think you have a perception that you do because you want to. So you want to eat the chicken. So what you have done is you found all the justifications for why you have to. Because deep down, when you have those options
Accurate.
around you and you realise you don't have to cause needless suffering, obviously you have to rationalise causing needless suffering in the absence of necessity. So
Yes, Ed. Thank you for finally fucking telling him what's up, bro. Thank you.
for you go, I
love
don't like
this
the
one,
meatloaf, or it's impossible for me not to eat the chicken.
Yeah.
But actually, there are plenty of people that can show you that that's not the case, and that you have the choice to eat something else. It's just because you want to, you're finding all these justifications for why in your own head you quote-unquote have to, even though you don't have to.
Yes, Ed.
correct. Yes,
Correct.
fine.
Okay,
God damn. 20 minutes earlier, dude. And this could have been... Imagine. I mean, we could have... Yeah, that was great. That was great. I just wish it happened a bit earlier.
You win the argument.
Right, well, I appreciate
Oh.
that very much. You know what? Have a wonderful day. I appreciate it very much. And what I would say is this organisation have helped me be here today. Really nice people, and they'd be more than happy to give you some information and help you find vegan recipes and vegan food on campus as well.
I'm still eating my chicken. I'm still eating my pork. I'm still eating.
But it's not yours, is it? That flesh was not yours. That flesh belonged to someone else.
Well, no, I'm not gonna eat my own flesh.
You're eating someone else's flesh.
Yes, yes.
So it's not yours.
No, but I'm going to continue doing that. It's just those days where I'm vegan or vegetarian, get better vegan food. That way I don't have to eat the amount, and this can lead to a spillover effect, and less chicken will have to be killed, and you can start bringing that number down eventually.
So just to clarify, one final question. You're happy causing unnecessary harm to someone else?
I'm not thinking of it like that because
But that's the truth, isn't it?
I'm not happy with the killing part, because that's why I don't go into slaughterhouses.
You pay someone else to do it instead.
Yeah, someone else is paid because they will they don't have a problem because they don't have that moral aspect.
I often don't have a choice because of their social economic situation, but you do have the choice to not pay for it to happen. If you couldn't do the killing yourself, why is it morally justified to pay for someone else to do it on your behalf?
Because they want to. Let
They
them
don't
do what
want to.
they
They don't want to.
Oh, he's such a prick, man. That's all I could say about him. I like that Ed called him right then and was like, "You're just making up all these excuses." Yes, I am making up these excuses, but I think the reason this guy says the stuff he says and thinks he can get away with it, and he's almost kind of like, honestly, like when he said that to Ed, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing this. Like, I think that's almost what I would consider like it's a verbal attack. Because he knows how Ed feels. He knows that Ed is defending animals, or maybe Ed's not made that clear enough, right? So if Ed made it clear that, listen, I'm not here to have a philosophical debate. I'm defending animals right now. Real life animals die, and I care about them, and I don't want them to die. That's why I'm here. If this guy then said, well, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I think then Ed is justified in saying something like, well, then get the fuck off my table and, get the fuck out of my face before I slap you. Because I feel like it's justified. I'm sorry, guys, because it's like, okay, let's switch the victim here. Because a lot of people would be upset with this, especially non-vegans and anti-vegans. But if you switch the victim, everybody agrees. For example, if I say to somebody, hey, listen, I've got black friends and I care about my black friends and I'm against racism because it harms them, not just mentally harms them, it sometimes physically harms them because some people will attack them because of the color of their skin, and I am not for that. That's horrible. I'm against that. And they say, well, I'm going to keep being a fucking racist. I'm going to keep on doing this stuff. I'm going to keep on pushing this stuff. Is that not grounds for a threat? Is that not grounds for well, listen, get the fuck out of my face before I punch you in the face? Because you've just stood there and told me you're going to hurt the very people that I care about. That to me is justified for a threat, like get the fuck away. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes as vegans, we need to remember that. We need to remember that we're not just debating ideas. We're out there. We're trying to defend animals. And when someone sits there and says, well, I'm going to fucking do it anyway. I don't know. I think there's an argument to say, get the fuck out of my face now. Like you are literally telling me that you are going to continue killing the very beings that I am trying to defend after I've explained to you, like beforehand, no, you couldn't just say something like that, right? Because they don't know any better. After an actual full discussion where you've been calm, PC, understanding, trying to help them understand. And all the way through, they've disrespected you. All the way through, they disrespected you. And then in the end, you finally say, I just feel like you're making excuses because you don't want to change. And they're like, yeah, I am. I agree with you. You're probably right. And you say, okay, then, well, let's leave it there then. And then they say, I'm going to keep on killing animals, though. I'm going to keep on doing it. I'm going to do. I'm sorry, but like at that point, I think we need to start being a little bit less accepting of people's bullshit when it gets to that point. Because as I said, if this were any other topic, right? If this were any other topic with any other victim, and someone said that at the end of a conversation and said, you better fucking watch it, because you know what? I'm getting pissed off with you, and I'm not going to sit here and listen to you disrespect me and disrespect the victims I'm trying to defend. So be careful. If that were defending an ethnic minority group, if that were defending trans people, they'd be applauded. Everyone would be like, oh my God, yes, like this is, you well done to you for defending those victims of people like that. And when it comes to animals, I feel like we can have that same reaction, that same response, as long as we make it very clear that we are not here debating ideas. We're here to defend animals. And if you tell me you're going to continue harming animals after listening to all my points, you should be treated the same way as someone who says they're going to try and harm people you care about after you try to defend them. I don't know, guys. I feel like there's something here. I feel like there's something to this. And I also feel like vegans should defend themselves too. Like when a vegan gets attacked in outreach, you know, like I've seen this a lot. Vegans just doing some outreach. Someone comes over and punches them. And the vegans, we always, what do? We back off, right? We back off, don't we? We back off and we say, oh, we're peaceful, we're peaceful. Get fucked. If someone comes over and I'm just like, hello, I'm showing some footage, I'm not doing anything in your face, and they come over and push me, they're getting punched. Like in the past, I wouldn't have done it, but these days, I think I would do it. And I want it to be filmed too, because you see these fight videos, right, guys? You see these videos where some aggressor comes over and tries to punch somebody, and what ends up happening is the person who's getting punched ends up beating them up, right? You've seen this before, and what do? We all applaud. We're like, well fucking done to that person who got, took the aggressor out. Or you see it sometimes with someone on a train who's bullying someone. Someone comes up behind them. I've seen this great video where this guy's bullying somebody. Someone comes up behind him, gets him in a choke, and puts him down. And we're all applauding. We're all like, well done. Thank you, that person, right? Well, consider that that's what we can do as well as vegans. If we're out on the street protesting, doing something peaceful like outreach, having conversations, and someone comes over, and it's happened just recently to a girl in Australia. She got shoved by another girl just for standing on the street talking. I'm saying there's an argument that someone could restrain that person, defend themselves, take quite a decent physical action to defend themselves. Put that person to the ground or dodge and give them a punch. And I think the public would be happy about that. I think the public would be pleased with that and they would support the vegans. But I think the public laughs at us when we take a bare-faced verbal attack or physical attack and we just fucking take it. And Ed's whole shtick is not that. And I get it. I'm not saying Ed should do this, but I'm saying, I don't know, there should be something, at least a verbal reaction that is equal to the verbal attack he tried to put on Ed just now. He was trying to piss Ed off just now. He said, I'm going to keep on doing my this, da-da-da. I think there is a good point where Ed could come back and be like, do you know what? Like, you're being a prick now. Like, imagine if Ed had said that to him. Do you know what, mate? We've had a reasonable conversation. I've been very understanding of you, but do you know what? That's out of order what you just said. You're being a prick. I care about animals. You know I defend animals. Now, do you want to sit down and finish this conversation like adults, or do you want to start being a prick and end it there? Which one do you want to do, mate? Now imagine if Ed did that, right? It's aggressive and it's in kind. The guy's trying to wind him up and he says, you're not going to wind me up, but I'm going to point out here that you're being incredibly rude and, you need to stop that. You've ruined the conversation here. You've been dishonest all the way through, but now you're saying something that is disrespectful to me, disrespectful to the animals I'm trying to defend. So knock it off, right? You know what I mean? I just feel like sometimes we've got to be a little bit more firm, honestly. I see 2 super chats here. One from ethically based ex-omnivore who says, that's my biggest struggle, David. I get super angry at people downplaying the horrible, hellish nightmare that non-human animals go through, that I start to get borderline super, super aggressive. No, totally. There is a line. Okay, now I feel like in the beginning of a conversation, you've got to understand that they're born the way they're born, and it is what it is, right? But I feel like at the end of a 28-minute conversation that's going on here with Ed, the guy understands that there's passion here. He knows all the arguments now. Now, to expect him to change like that is not going to happen. But we can at least expect him, or at least have the expectation that he wouldn't say something to purposefully upset you after having a reasonable conversation. And when he does what he does just now, where he did aim just now to upset Ed, that's why he said what he said, right? Then yeah, at this point, I think being a little bit aggressive is justified, and not just justified, helpful. Because otherwise, we just look like these ultra-pacifist vegan pussies. And I'm getting kind of tired of seeing it. Honestly, guys, I'm getting kind of tired of seeing it. And it doesn't mean be aggressive and shout at everybody and punch everybody or whatever, but it means in certain circumstances, we are justified in being a bit aggressive and laying down the fucking law and standing up for ourselves, and not always being the vegan punching bags, which is where I feel like a lot of us sit. And we don't need to be that to be effective. We don't. Lily Veg also says, thank you so much for the super chat, ethically based omnivore and Lily Veg. I think as vegans, we are too polite and peaceful. There is an animal holocaust. Thank you for speaking up, David. I agree, Lily Veg. I think peaceful activism is totally good and necessary. But as Josh just said here, it's not necessarily about being aggressive. It's about being assertive. And I think we can be peaceful, we can be fair, and we can be very assertive. And at times we can be very stern with somebody and give them warning shots. Now, it doesn't need to be necessarily a threat as such, like your head, I'm going to punch you in a minute. Although that's fine. But it could also be something along the lines of back off with what you're saying right now. That's not okay. And that doesn't fly, okay? Don't do that again, or we're going to have a problem, right? And the problem could be we're ending the conversation and you're going to leave, or it could be something else. But the point is stern, being stern, being assertive, and drawing a line. Like a good video to watch, if you want to know what I'm talking about here, without, if you want to do this and not be too aggressive, which I don't either. I'm just shooting the shit here. But there is a video by Charisma on Command, and it talks about giving a warning shot. And it shows different celebrities in interviews where the interviewer said something that was clearly crossing the line, right? And it shows how these celebrities were able to draw a line and say, that's not okay what you're saying, without actually kind of getting into an altercation. But it's like a threat. It's like an underlying threat of stop what you're doing right now. And in fact, we could watch a little bit of it now, actually. Let's have a look at it together. Because I find this to be very interesting. And I really do feel like as vegans, we could totally use what's in this to help us with these situations. Let's have a look. So it's how to stand up for yourself. Oh, yeah, there's two of them. Okay. How to command respect during arguments. All right. That's the name of this video. So let's take a look at this together. This is obviously, I think this is really helpful for us. All right. And let's have a watch and see what you think. I don't remember exactly what's in the video, but I remember being quite impressed by it.
What's up, everybody? This is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and today I want to help you deal with people in your life who are being passive-aggressive. You can use this from anyone, from a friend to a coworker, someone that you've just met at a bar or a party. One simple caveat that I'll give you: this will work, but be careful when using this on people who have leverage over your life.
Hold up. Let me see, because there's two. I'm not sure if that's the one I wanted to put on. Let me check it. Hold up. There's one I saw, and it was really good, and I don't think that was the one. Hold up. Damn it. There was a really good one, and it was like... Oh, maybe it was that one. Okay, it was that one. Okay, we'll continue with it. It was that one.
What's up, everyone? You can use this from anyone, from one simple caveat that I'll give you: this will work, but be careful when using this on people who have leverage over your life. For instance, your boss. Because, as you'll see, one of the steps and several of the steps are to call it out, walk away, and basically remove that person from your life. Difficult to do if it's your boss. So we'll have other strategies for dealing with conflict when it's with superiors, but this is one that you can use in many, many situations. That said, this is an interview with Robert Downey Jr. He's doing a press junket for Age of Ultron. And in this interview, the interviewer, out of left field, starts asking him questions about his drug history, his relationship with his father, stuff that is just inappropriate and directed to get a rise out of him. So I want to start where the interview is still copacetic, still cool, and you can watch it devolve in the first 15 seconds.
He's becoming a much more likable character as well, isn't he?
I suppose
a better
so.
man.
Yeah, he's becoming a better guy.
In a way that you are as well, I suppose.
Sure.
I mean, what I'd really like to ask you about a quote you gave to the New York Times. And
you see that look on his face. We often have this moment where we can tell that something is coming. There is a trap about to be sprung. Somebody's about to unleash their passive aggressiveness on us.
So yeah, we can vibe with this, right? Sometimes conversations that we have with non-vegans, like the ones Ed has, they start off well, they start off reasonable, right? But just like this guy, they devolve and end up getting, the guy says something nasty or he starts being passive aggressive, which he did, right?
Robert just kind of has to wait and take it because it's not aggressive, and this really is step one. What I'll say here is look at the eye contact to come. Robert continues to look right back at this guy while he can hold his gaze. The important thing here is something that you can take is that when someone is being passive aggressive with you, oftentimes they do not have the guts to be outright aggressive. They're trying to hide that. So just by looking them in the eye with a steady gaze, you can often deter that, right? They will many times backtrack on what is said. Not the case in this interview, but a great step one. Hold strong, steady eye contact. Let that person know that you know what's going on without saying a word.
So that's actually really good advice. So there's one way we could deal with it, right? So someone's being an asshole to you, like Ed sat down with the guy, and he says that, I'm going to still do this, I'm going to still do this, I'm going to still do this. And Ed, looks at him in the eyes. Or he said something earlier on in the thing too, when Ed says, okay, the murder's okay. The guy's like, murder's okay, right? Or whatever. And Ed could just look at him and be like, and just leave the silence there. Let it breathe and just look at him in a way that's like, the way you're behaving right now is not okay. You're being dishonest and you're wasting my time, right? You can say a lot with just a gaze. So, even words don't even need to be said, but we're also going to see how Robert Downey Jr. handles this. And if I remember correctly, it's pretty interesting.
I don't want to pry, so if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But what you said to the New York Times once was, it was after your incarceration, and you said, you can't go from a $2,000 a night hotel suite to a penitentiary and understand it and come out a liberal.
And you see, that's just like a piercing gaze that he has. He is letting him know that he knows what's going on.
And I just wondered what you meant by that.
Well, the funny thing is, and I appreciate your point of view, things that you said 5-7 years ago or things you said in an interview that made sense to you at the time, I could pick that apart for 2 hours and no.
So interestingly enough, and this is actually what I recommend you do, you'll notice that he's answering the question at pretty much face value, which is what you'll often want to do when you sense that someone is being passive aggressive. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Many times that eye contact will deter them, they'll stop being passive aggressive, or you just might have misinterpreted. So rather than jump down someone's throat right away or constantly be creating conflict, give them for one try the benefit of the doubt. Answer their question, do what they're doing at face value.
So I feel like that, applying this to the video we just watched with Ed did that in the beginning, right? He gave this guy, he said, okay, do you know what? Benefit of the doubt. Like, that sounds like a weird answer, but let's assume that you're being serious. Let's assume that, you're not trying to be a dick. But in the end, we found out he was trying to be a dick. And throughout the interview, the guy was being a dick, right? Ed gave him that first chance, but unfortunately, I feel like he kept giving him more and more chances.
Be no closer to the truth than I'd be giving you some half-assed answer right now. I couldn't even really tell you what a liberal is. So therein lies the answer to your question.
The statement sort of stands by itself, doesn't it? I mean, does that mean you're not a liberal, or that you came out of prison not being a liberal?
Notice this here. This is what I call a warning shot. So he's given him the chance to stop going down this line. He's explained to him that he has no idea how to even begin answering this question. The guy persists. So right here, you will see he gives him a good-natured warning shot.
Are we promoting a movie? To me, the thing is that it's...
And then again, still back to good-natured.
I'm certainly not going to backpedal on anything I've said. But I wouldn't say I'm a Republican or a liberal or a Democrat.
So, yeah, I like that again. A warning shot. That's what I was looking for when I was looking for the thumbnail, because I remember like that was something I really clicked with, like give people a warning shot. So a warning shot in Ed's case with this guy could have been when he was being dishonest. It could have been like, are we having an honest conversation here? Or like, because I mean, I'm just trying to like, I mean, you seem like a nice guy and you sat down and I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that we're not wasting each other's time. Okay. So that's like a warning shot for the guy to stop being a prick. That could have happened earlier on, right? That could have been something that happened. JP and Julia, thank you so much for the tip. It says, I know the convo has moved on, but I feel sorry for anyone washing your socks. Loving the show. Keep up all the good work. And he's got all my crusty socks in framed up on the wall. Actually, she loves it. She has her own office just here, and she keeps them. Actually, she keeps them, and yeah, it's weird, but that's what she does. But back to the video. Yeah, a warning shot that Ed could have done, as I said, could have been that what I said. Are we being real here? Are we having a conversation? Are we being real, or are we being silly? Right. Let's establish this right away, because this guy was being silly and passive aggressive, and Ed let it go a lot of times. And as I do a lot of times too, and I think a lot of us do it. And this is a good example of what to do. Here's a warning shot. I'm not wasting my fucking time with you. Don't waste your time with me, right? But if they continue, then well.
This is important. Oftentimes when people are being passive aggressive, they are trying to box you in with some sort of question to where your options in answering suck for you either way. What Robert Downey Jr. is doing here, rather than just answering his question, is reframing it in terms that he can come out of it as the way that he wants to be perceived, right? He doesn't want to say liberal this, Republican this, Democrat that. That is not a path he wants to go down. So he takes the time to reframe the question as, you know what? I was young. I don't even know what I meant.
Thank you so much, Garuti, for your super chat. It's about to pop up just now. I think I came in a bit early on that one. And he can tell you that happens a lot. But it says here, Brazilian activist here. I do the same approach as Ed. How do you respond to people who bashes using terms like slavery and Holocaust? Love your work. Well, thank you for the super chat, Garuti. And, well, I've got videos on this entire thing, but basically there you go. It's popped up now. How do you respond to people who bash using the terms like slavery and Holocaust? Well, the most simple way I would respond, if you're going to go down this road and use them and try to defend it, and I would just simply state that the words slavery or Holocaust, although they have emotional connections to certain events in history, they are not reserved specifically for those events in history. For example, there were many slave trades before the transatlantic slave trade. There have been many Holocausts before the Jewish Holocaust. Would this individual who's upset with you say that you shouldn't use the word Holocaust to describe what happened to Indians under British rule, or to Armenians? Would they also say that what happened in ancient slave trades in Rome, for example, was not allowed to be called slavery because only the transatlantic slave trade can take that name? They would say, no, of course not. So then you would say, well, okay, then if those words are not reserved for those events specifically, then we're using the words as they are defined. We understand words, whether it be English, Brazilian, or whatever, Portuguese. We understand words as they have meanings, they have definitions. Slavery does not mean transatlantic slave trade, and Holocaust does not mean Jewish Holocaust. They have their own specific meanings that we use for various events and various things that happen throughout the world, and they can also be used for what's happening to animals. And we can, you could explain why you use them for what happens to animals. So, for example, if animals are not free, what are they? They're captive, you could say. Okay, that's fine. You could also say they're enslaved, because they are enslaved. They're in captivity. They're enslaved. They're not allowed to leave. Okay. As for the word Holocaust, it means mass slaughter. The word actually is derived from slaughter, right? It comes from animal slaughter. That was the original definition of the word. So you're using it in its actual purest definition. Not that that matters. What appealing to, it's a fallacy to say, well, that's what it says in the dictionary. But that's not the point. The point is, it has a meaning. We all understand the meaning, and what you're using it for makes sense. And you can explain it's because billions of animals are killed every single year. That justifies calling it a Holocaust. You could call it a mass killing. You could call it a Holocaust. At the end of the day, the words used for these things aren't necessarily that important. What's important is describing what actually happens is important. Semantics are something else. I wouldn't die on those hills, to be totally honest with you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, But if you want to explain to somebody why you say it, then say it. But I wouldn't die on the hills. What matters is what matters more than the words themselves is what the words mean and how that happens. What happens to animals, basically. That's what I would say. Okay, thank you for the super chat. Great question. I hope that helps you, and we'll get back to the video.
I could guess at what I meant. Who freaking knows?
I think when I was talking to the person who was doing the interview that day, and that just happened to be my opinion. That's the nice thing, is you can have opinions and they kind of change and flow.
Yeah, well,
So he's basically discounted his question by reframing it there. I'm going to jump ahead now. This continues. Actually, let's let it ride, because it's fun to watch it just fall apart.
that's life and that's growing older, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you say we're promoting an interview. I mean, promoting the movie.
And if you want, this is just a study in what nervous body language looks like. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. Watch the jittery hands, the lack of eye contact. He's sitting far back in his chair. He just is like fidgeting all the time. This is what nervousness looks like.
I mean, obviously you're doing a promotional round of interviews, and that's why we're talking about the movie. But we also would like to talk a little bit about you, and I don't know how comfortable you are, talking about yourself at the moment.
You have as much time as anyone else will.
Yeah, well, okay, well then let me just ask you a few more questions, and you can answer them if you want to and not if you don't want to. I mean,
so clearly he's getting upset. He sees he's given this guy the eye contact. He's given him the benefit of the doubt. He's even giving him a warning shot, and this guy continues. So what does he do next? He's going to call it out, and just listen for what comes after this.
well, I think we've got 3 more minutes on our agreement.
Your foot's starting to jump a little bit. You better get to your next question.
Again, this is the first time that Robert has been anything less than good-natured. He is saying in a very clear way, you're obviously nervous. You know what you're doing. I know what's up. Get through this.
The reason I'm asking about the past is that you've talked in other interviews again about your relationship with your father.
And stuttering and stammering, the guy continues to go. So right now, if you watch his chest, Robert Downey Jr. is breathing very, very heavy. He is entering like fight or flight mode, which is common when somebody comes at you, even if it's not in a physical way. This is clearly a pointed attack. He is trying to get a rise out of him. He knows what's going on. So you see he starts to breathe deep. He goes into fight or flight. Some people might freak out here, but notably he doesn't.
The role of all of that in the dark periods you entered, and taking drugs and drinking and all of that. And I just wondered whether,
this interview.
you think you're free of all of that, or whether that's still something.
I'm sorry, I really don't. What are we doing?
And this is the most overt call out. This is step 3, 4, where you've gone through. You've given them the eye contact. You said you know what's up. You've given them the benefit of the doubt. You've done the warning shot. You've overtly called out the foot or whatever it is. He very clearly, in plain English, says, what is going on here? This is appropriate if you've given the person so many subtle warnings with the passive aggressiveness.
So this is what I'm also calling for. This is what I'd like to see in activism too, is when someone is clearly there to fuck with you, like this interviewer is to fuck with RDJ. I like the warning shot, like, what are we doing here? What's going on? And then if they keep on pissing around, like that one with Ed just now, like I just would have loved to have seen Ed pause the interview and go, okay, we're gonna pause for a second. What's going on here? Why are you sat in the chair? Why did you sit here today? You just come to wind me up? Is that what you're here for? Or are you here to have a conversation? You need to decide right now what it's going to be. Because if it's here to wind me up and to waste my time, you can leave right now. Or if you want to be an adult and actually sit here and have a discussion with me where you're going to tell me what you really think and stop messing around and wasting both of our time, then please stay. I'd love to have this chat with you. I would have loved to see Ed do that. I would have loved it. I would have, because that kid was wasting his time. He was there to cause shit. And yeah, if the argument is, well, I mean, it's content. Well, I think it would have made way fucking better content if he'd had called it out like this, like RDJ is now. I feel like that's content I want to see. I want to see Ed doing loads of interviews, calling a spade when he needs to, and not letting people get away with this passive-aggressive, dishonest shit. I'd love to see it.
What are you doing?
That's not his style, though. I appreciate that's not his style, but I'd love to see it. Hudson maybe can pass this message on, that maybe, I don't know, just suggest that he tries it once, because I think it would look great. I think it would look great on Ed. It would show that Ed is not a pushover, and that he can command respect during a discussion, or let's be honest, they're arguments that he's in. They're calm arguments that Ed gets into, but they're still arguments. And it would be great if he was commanding a bit more respect in his arguments. I'd love to see that. And this is spoken as somebody who does not do what Ed does to the the extent that Ed does it. So I appreciate that I'm armchair activist in a bit right now. But I don't know, if someone could pass that on, I'd love to see him give it a go.
Doing is a perfectly fine question in this situation. Maintain eye contact, see what the guy says.
Well, I'm just asking questions, that's all.
Right.
Guy ducks it again, goes with the passive way.
Bye.
And that's it. Walk away. This is the big thing, and this is why I said it can be tricky to do when you're with your boss or something like this. You do not need people in your life who are going to behave like this. You do not have to sit through and stomach any sort of passive-aggressive attack on you. Even if it doesn't feel like an attack or look like an attack on the outside, this person, with the way that they have interacted, is trying to get a rise out of you. Do not freak out. Do not take it. Remove yourself from the situation once you've called it out. And you can look at it. He does it in a very fine, friendly, good-natured way. He doesn't walk away screaming, cursing at the guy. That is the way to handle this situation.
Are you? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you?
You seem okay. It's just getting a little dinosaur in your.
No. Look, I don't want to do that.
Thank you.
And then this guy looks at him like, what an idiot you are. And he is. So, hope that has been helpful. The steps, quick recap are.
So yeah, I think that's interesting to see. And obviously it's a very different scenario to what Ed just did with this guy. But however, this guy was being disrespectful. And of course, the Charisma on Command guy, he's talking about what you do in your personal life. So of course, you don't want to get fired up and fight with people in your personal life. So what I said earlier on about like, hey, you better shut the fuck up, like, or defending yourself like that. In personal life, no, right? But if the camera's on you and you're creating content that you want to get out there, you want people to see, then I think being a bit spicy is good. I don't mean actually get angry yourself, like, oh, get fired up. But if you can put on a little bit of spice, put on a little bit of a show. You could even put on a show. Be assertive. Go a little bit above what you would normally do. And spice things up a little bit for a video. I mean, I think that would be good. Imagine if Ed is not in Ed's nature, but if he did apply this to his conversations just once in a while, a little bit more assertive than Robert Downey Jr. did there, a little bit more energy than that. Like, hey, look, something like quite like that's not cool what you just said. That's disrespectful, and you're going to stop it, or we're going to or you can leave, right? I'm not taking that, or even explaining what you just said is incredibly disrespectful. I'm sat here trying to defend animals. I'm trying to do that. And you think you can just get away with being disrespectful like that? You better watch yourself talking to people like that. I feel like it's good. It's drama. People will watch it. People will be excited about it. And that's the point, isn't it? It's to influence as many people as possible and get as many people as possible to see these conversations. That's why Ed makes the videos and puts them online. Otherwise, if that wasn't his aim, and if there wasn't my aim, none of us would make videos. We'd just talk to people one-to-one. That's how we do it. But if the aim is to reach as many people as possible, I think defending ourselves, defending animals, when someone is straight, bare-faced, rude like this guy was in the last part of that video, let's rewatch that. And let's see, like, that last little...
I'm still eating my chicken.
Let me just turn the volume down on that. Sorry, guys, I might have deafened a couple of you just then.
The killing part, because that's why I don't go into slaughterhouses.
You pay someone else to do it.
Where was it?
And this
You said this.
yes.
So it's not yours?
No.
Okay.
But I'm going to continue.
Just here, right?
I appreciate that very much. You know what? Have a wonderful day. I appreciate it very much. And what I would say is this organization have helped me be here.
Let's break this down here, right? So here, have a wonderful day.
Very much. You know what? Have a
wonderful day. Thank you very much. And here's some information that I think could help you. I'm being very honest. I'm being very calm and passive, not passive aggressive. I'm being very passive. I'm telling you that I care about animals. I don't think they deserve what's happening to them. I'm going to give you some information that I hope you're going to take, and I hope you'll stop doing this to them. Very, very polite, very nice, very...
Wonderful day. I appreciate it very much. And what I would say is this organization have helped me be here today. Really nice people, and they'd be more than happy to give you some information and help you find vegan recipes and vegan food on campus as well.
Lovely, lovely from Ed. Really nice, polite, not passive aggressive. No hint of you're a prick. Even though this guy has set of 26 minutes and been a fucking dick, Ed's not being a dick back, right? Right, okay, ending it. Great.
I'm still eating my chicken. I'm still eating my pork. I'm still eating.
But it's not your.
That is a direct fuck you to Ed. That's what he's saying right now. Basically, he's saying to Ed, to his face, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Now, Ed responds.
What is it? That flesh was not yours. That flesh belonged to someone else.
Well, no, I'm not gonna eat my own flesh.
And Ed responds the only way Ed knows how to respond, right? With logic. But the thing is, logic is wasted on this guy. He's not there to be reasonable. He's not there to be honest. We know this now. We know that that's not what he's there for. This kid did not come to have a normal, productive conversation with Ed. He came there to be a little prick. So at this point, I think we established that. And I feel like, yeah, someone says honestly thought Ed was quite assertive. Ed was quite assertive, but he was assertive in a logical way. Whereas I feel he could have been assertive in a, why are you being so disrespectful to me right now? You know the arguments that I've put forward, you see how passionate I am about this. You know that I care about animals. Why, after this 26-minute conversation of us being reasonable with each other, would you stand now and be so unreasonable and disrespectful when all I've been is respectful for you? Can you answer that question, please? I feel like that's what I was looking for here. As opposed to, well, but it's not your, it's like, yeah, okay, yes, he's technically wrong. I get it. We all get it. And it's good to be assertive about him being technically wrong. But let's call out the fact that he's being incredibly rude right now and spitting in your face after you've been so reasonable with him,
Because they want to.
They don't want to. They don't want to. People in slaughterhouses don't want to spend every day killing an animal, just like you don't either.
I have better stuff to do right now.
When you buy animal products to eat them,
see, we're preaching to the choir here. We're preaching to the people watching the video, who hopefully some of them aren't vegan, to be fair. So I'm not completely preaching to the choir, but with this guy, he is not listening. He is done. And I think, we're talking about, I see someone 2 AM vegan saying this sounds good in theory. I'm not sure it can be applied in real life. It absolutely can be applied in real life. We just saw how it could be applied in real life. When Robert Downey Jr. Got into that, he wanted to leave the scenario rather than sitting there, but he did say, we're done. He's like, I'm not going to sit around and take this anymore. I'm out of here. What I'm suggesting here is Ed doesn't do that, but he does say that mentally, like I'm done with you. Like, I'm not going to walk away, leave, but I'm done with you if you're going to keep being like that. People just feel like it would be great if we could hold people accountable when they're shit with us, rather than bending over and taking it. The guy made it was a personal attack. Like, I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to do this. And I feel like we can respond with why are you being, like I said, why are you being disrespectful? What's the deal here? What's the point here? And it could have been done early on, because this is not the first time he disrespected Ed in this conversation. He did multiple times disrespected Ed. Multiple times disrespected Ed by being dishonest and lying about things, like saying he thought murder was okay, stuff like that. Saying that you shouldn't kill people because they could help solve the climate crisis. This guy has disrespected Ed consistently throughout the entire video. At least one time, it was worth calling that out. That's what I'm trying to say here. So in practice, it can be done. And in practice, I think we should do it. And it brings it home. It makes it more real. It makes it less a philosophical discussion about things, but things out there in the world. It makes it more about you and I. We're 2 people trying to have a sensible discussion. If you're not going to be sensible and you're not going to be reasonable, why are we here? What are you doing right now? Why are you sat here saying what you're saying? What is your problem? I think it's a good idea to say that once in a while, and have people realize you cannot just get away with people being like that all the time. You guys keep on, listen, in the chat, I see a lot of people defending Ed. You don't need to defend Ed. I'm not against Ed. What I'm doing right now, I'm suggesting things that I think would make conversations, in my opinion, better to watch. What I think would make them more impactful for the person you're talking to. I'm giving you my opinions. You don't need to defend Ed here, because I'm pro Ed. I did 12 hours reacting to Ed. I've met Ed a couple of times. I've had dinner with Ed in Ed's restaurant with him and loads of people. I am all about Ed. I'm pro Ed. Don't ever take any of this as anti-Ed. I'm just reacting to videos here, guys, and I'm just giving my opinions. There's no need to defend him. I am fully on side with him, fully. But you know, as if Ed was reacting to my videos, I'd love to see what he had to say too. And if he had some things to say that I'd take it on board. You know what I mean? It's not I'm not roasting him or anything like that. So you guys, you don't need to defend him, okay? It's all good. He doesn't need defending. He's great. I am pro-vegan Jesus. How could I not be? How could I not be? I worship at the altar of Ed every morning. I've got a shrine put up in the apartment here. We do hymns and songs. Could you react to Joey Carbstrong? We have someone saying, well, okay, guys, this is up to you, really. We can react to a Joey video, or we can react to Ed debating a hunter. The hunter video that I was mentioning earlier. So, here it is. The hunter video, hunter and vegan debate, but not as you know it. That is one of them, okay? And we could also do a Joey one. So if you've got a Joey one you think's good, let me know. I see you're asking me, some people are asking, am I pro-vegan Satan? Well, that's me. I am vegan Satan, apparently. What was it? I'm vegan Hitler. That was the one. I'm vegan Hitler, so of course I'm pro myself. Absolutely. Of course I am. Enough Ed, switch it up. Someone says the hunter video doesn't have a big payoff. Okay, then forget that. So should we do a Joey then? All right, which Joey shall we do? Joey the hunter one isn't very spicy. All right, then thank you guys for saving us some time there. So let's have a look at some Joey videos. By the way, sneaky little inside info for you. Joey's coming on the podcast. Joey's coming on my podcast. So if you like Joey and you like me, you should totally subscribe to the second channel, The Ram's Den. And that's where I'm going to do a podcast with Joey very soon, probably in the next week or so. Very excited to do that. Joey's a legend. We were hanging out a little bit at the vegan camp out and, got to know each other a little bit better. So it's really nice now that we're going to be able to do a podcast together for a good solid hour, good solid chat. Very excited to get into some stuff with him. Very cool. So get over to the second channel, The Ram's Den, and subscribe right now so you don't miss it. Turn on notifications too. There's some stuff up there right now, some spicy stuff up there already if you're into it. Some debates related to trans stuff. Not me debating, actually. It was a very famous trans man debating Catherine Klein, the vegan YouTuber. They had a bit of a disagreement. She made a video about a podcast I did. And that's there right now anyway. So not necessarily vegan related, but they do talk. They don't really talk about veganism, but veganism kind of comes up once or twice in the debate. It was pretty interesting. And actually, it wouldn't technically be a debate. We need to go by Richard Vegan Gains standards here. It's not a debate. It's a discussion that was formed in a way that it was like a back and forth, kind of like an argument, a moderated argument, let's say. But I call it debate because, that's what everybody thinks it is. Anyway, let's get back to it. Joey, who will be on the podcast soon. Which video should we take a look at? Or we'll go for one of his debate ones, maybe, or one of his outreach ones. Is there any that stand out here? Human breast milk prank goes wrong. 29,000. That's 29,000 views. That's good for Joey. We could take a look at that one. Do you have any suggestions, guys? Just put them in the comments if you do. There's a couple I've already seen, like this fight one we saw already. So actually, yeah, we'll go for this human breast milk prank goes wrong, maybe. Or the reverse, someone says, Garuti says, react to the reverse psychology. Reverse psychology. This one, is it this undercover vegan one? Tricking meat eaters into acting like vegans. Is that it? Is that your reverse psychology one? I can check that one out. It's not as much of a viewed one, but Garuti is seemingly pretty pumped about it, and so is Mark. All right, I haven't seen it. Let's check it out then. Are we good? Yeah.
I'm not vegan. I'm not vegan.
A question.
Have you heard of Poltro veganism?
Poltro?
I know, mate.
What?
I know.
What? You're the most inconsistent person I've ever met.
Is it not reflective?
That's funny.
Hi.
Let's see.
My name is Joey Carbstrong. I'm a vegan who has spent the last 7 years trying to convince people that animal cruelty is wrong, without as much success as I hoped. So I thought I'd try a new, completely opposite approach. I'd pretend to support animal cruelty and harness the power of reverse psychology.
You're deleting your brain from.
What?
This is how it went.
All right, so here we are in London. It's Pride. There's a celebration going on. We have a sign here that says there's nothing wrong with animal cruelty. Changed my mind. We're doing some reverse psychology. We're going to get the public to argue for the vegan position and see how we go. Let's do it. Yeah, bro, come on. Come and tell me why. Did you read the sign first?
Yeah.
What does it say?
There's nothing wrong with animal cruelty. Changed my mind.
Okay. Tell me what's wrong with animal cruelty.
So when you say, can we just quickly commonly define animal cruelty?
Inflicting needless suffering onto a being, I would probably define as cruelty.
Why do you hold a position that there's nothing wrong with animal cruelty?
First of all, we've been cruel to animals for thousands of years.
I'm not going to deny that.
Okay.
I'll say this, it's goddamn efficient to exploit animals for our needs.
Okay.
However, I don't necessarily think that means that there's nothing wrong with it.
No, wait a second. Lions are cruel to antelope.
No, that's the thing. They don't like put antelope in like abattoirs and build like machines and put their entire lifetime into like a suffering building.
Who does that?
Humans to cows and stuff like that. Okay. Dairy cows and shit. So they kind of keep them in like, it's more like throughout the extent of its life, it doesn't really get much freedom. But do you know about the dairy industry much?
Yeah, I know about dairy industry. I know all about it. I know all about the entire process.
The cows will be kind of stuck in these kind of things, getting perma milk, getting impregnated to make a child, to have their child taken away from them. When then you can hear them, because some of my family live in the West Country in England, and all the people out there, Tories, they vote for because they're farmers, right? So it works for them. But they have these like dairy farms. They take the calves away and send them to a different facility. They keep the dairy farms in one place, and they pine, they scream for their kids.
I feel like this guy might already know who Joey is, and he's going through vegan talking points, maybe, because this seems like really, if this is random, there is a crazy chance that this guy sits down and goes through all this, isn't it? I don't know. It's pretty funny though how he's arguing like a vegan. I do really appreciate the irony here. Joey's done a good job putting this together. Vegan Rebel, thank you so much for the tip. And says, David and Annie, you are based. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. We're doing our best to be as real as possible, guys. That's why, it's not a family-friendly stream. There's a lot of swearing, a lot of telling it how it is. YouTube might not like it, but, I feel like it's important for, to have some rough and ready, say it how it is vegans out there. And I like to be one of them. And I see Joey is also one of them. And I'm excited to do this podcast with him to, God knows what we're going to get into, It's scary, actually.
Night after night after night, because they miss their children, because their children were taken away. And that's the bond of a mother and a thing, a mother and a child.
Yeah.
And that's an emotional kind of torture for them, to the point where they have to grieve for their child, and then they get impregnated again, because then they won't lactate without having to provide for some sort of child.
Yeah.
So it's in my eyes.
Are you a vegan?
No. I know, mate.
What?
I know.
What? You're not a vegan? Wait a second. You are not. Do you drink dairy?
No. I don't drink dairy.
Because of that?
Partly.
Okay. What about healthy?
I do like all the different milks. I just kind of don't like the way it affects my mucus and the way.
So it's a health thing. So it's a personal health thing.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with animal cruelty.
I never said that. It's like it's not black or it's not binary. It's not like. It's not. I think it's quite appropriate. We're at Pride, and the situation we're talking about is not a binary matter either.
Okay. It's fluid. It's a fluid matter.
The reason I don't partake in the dairy industry is I think it's abominable, but also it's not good for my health. I'm not vegan. I'm not vegan.
Ask you a question.
Have you heard of paltrow veganism?
Paltrow?
I think that animals of such high emotional intelligence should not be put through the emotional torture that the industries put them through just for our desires to buy burgers at Burger King. Do you understand? I think it's a bit cruel. Not gonna lie.
So what's a paltrow vegan?
Paltrow veganism is my thing, where I can rationalize probably the most efficiently exploitable animal on earth is the chicken. I think it's probably the most universally eaten meat out of all of them because there aren't that many religions that outlaw the eating of chicken.
So wait a second. Can you be cruel to a chicken?
I think that if you can, chickens can live a much more fulfilling life in a smaller space because they don't take up as much space. But they lay eggs every day, regardless, because they've been bred like that. So they constantly create food source during their lifetime, whether or not they're having a good time or not.
But you think?
I think there's a future.
You think cruelty is wrong?
A stepping stone to a fully vegan future would have to be poultry vegan first, because you will not convince the whole world to give up meat.
I'm no vegan expert. I don't think you can be vegan and eat chickens.
Poultry vegans is coming to the conclusion that chickens might as well be plants.
Well, okay, wait. So I would consider chickens.
He doesn't even mean what he's saying. He's just another. Oh, he's like that last guy, but at least he's being more upfront with the fact that he knows he's chatting shit.
Animal.
That's why he's laughing.
Animals.
And you can't be cruel to a chicken?
Do you want to just kick this chicken around, beat this chicken up all day, keep it in a shitty cage, force feed it food all day? Do you want to do that to an animal?
That's what happens anyway.
Right, but could we push for a future where we could do that less, and we could have them having better lives? Stop deforesting for bovine farms.
They deforest for chickens.
Nah, but like chickens, you
what
can
do you
have.
think chickens eat?
Yo, dude, we could build like.
What do chickens eat?
Seeds, bro.
Where do they grow the seeds?
Yeah, but you have to grow you have to have so much more materials to feed a cow. It's so much more of a water investment.
But what do chickens eat? Grains.
Yeah.
Where do they grow the grains?
I'm not retarded, mate. Yes, they grow the grains out of the ground.
They cut down trees.
Yes.
They grow grains, and
This is where a Socratic method can work out badly, because if someone, it can seem like you are. Oh my god, I've lost my word again. Patronizing people. It can seem like you're patronizing them when you ask them simple questions.
Harvesting.
Like I said, I'm not retarded, mate.
Chickens.
Yes.
I've had that happen to me before as well, where someone's been like, "Why are you talking to me like I'm a fucking idiot?" And you're like, "Yeah, all right, my bad." It's because usually people act like fucking idiots when they talk about veganism, you know?
So it's the same problem.
Yes, but like you could feed more people and more chickens in more cycles with less land and less resources.
But you're killing more animals.
Is killing an animal inherently cruel? Or is torturing an animal cruel?
I mean,
I don't think killing is cruel if you just. But if you because if it's had a fulfilling life, right? I don't think that killing itself is inherently cruel. You've got like euthanasia programs, right? If someone is suffering, I think it's more ethical to.
Oh, well, that's different. But I mean, causing a chicken suffering and then coming through and killing them. Do you think? What do you think's wrong?
I think
with that picture.
I think.
You think causing them the suffering to begin with was wrong?
I think that. What is suffering in this context?
Let's just say like stock standard chicken, because I know a lot about the chicken industry as well.
Hens, yeah.
Even though I don't think there's anything wrong with being cruel necessarily.
But like.
You come here and you started like talking like a vegan to me, then you started telling me it's okay to eat chickens.
I'm a visionary.
Okay, so
I see a better future where we can get there together and learn from it.
So you're saying take all of the support out of dairy, and would you include beef?
Unfortunately, yeah, you have to really minimize it.
So I think that boycott meat and dairy.
In this world, we are drowning in our privilege. We're drowning in it. We need.
It's hard to take control because I feel like this guy's clearly drunk or on something, and he's because he's rambling on. I feel like Joey's finding it really difficult to you know, you can see we're 7 minutes in. It's a 10-minute video. And Joey's barely said a word. This guy, he's not letting him get a word in edgeways, is he?
We need what we want when we want it right now, right here, right now. And we're used to having these things. Okay. We don't need them, you understand?
So let me get this straight. Remove all of our support of beef and dairy and put it all into chickens.
Yeah. And one animal. The only thing. We make our prayers with God. We say, I'm sorry for all this fucking evil we do.
But what did the chickens ever do to deserve that wrath?
Right. Chickens are the most recent, like they're the closest link to the dinosaurs. And I think there's something poetic about the human race.
Mass killing chickens?
Enslaving it's like a mark of dominance over the world now. It's like, hey, look, we're so cool that, look, if the dinosaurs can see us now, do you know what I mean?
I mean, you have a
He's
very
fucking around. He's not even serious. I think he knows exactly who Joey is.
interesting worldview. Like,
I think
it's very broken.
Is it not
You're the most inconsistent
Is it not
person I've ever met.
Is it not
And Joey is choosing to like fuck around with him. I think it's a good tactic. I think it's either like, it's embarrassing when someone's come along to fuck around and you take them seriously. That's bad. I feel like that's no good, right? Or if someone's come to fuck around and then you also fuck around, that's also an option. There's another option that they come to fuck around and then you can shut it down, right? Or you can like half fuck around and half shut it down. Like sometimes it's like, all right, now we've had the fun. Can we be serious now? Are we going to be able to do that, or are we just going to keep messing around? I feel like you got the choices. I think with Joey's choice here, I think it's, Joey's gone for something funny with the sign. He's gone for something like reverse psychology. So this guy's come and started fucking around. So I think it's only fair that Joey fucks around back. And then you would hope that, there's 2 minutes left, so they're not going to get into the serious stuff. Maybe this guy's not in the right mind frame. But yeah, what it could have been, I suppose, if this guy was less inebriated, it could have been like they fuck around in the beginning and then they have a serious conversation after that. And it could be that conversation's coming, to be fair. I don't know. Let's see.
Reflective of the world we live in as well.
I thought you were a vegan 1 second then.
You don't judge
1 minute you're saying don't eat dairy, next minute you're saying just eat chicken.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
No,
I think that it's more efficient. We get more out of chickens than just meat.
And how do the chickens, do you think, feel? Do you think the chickens have feelings?
Yeah, they have personalities. That's why I'm saying, like, if we're gonna move away if the goal, which I think it is, should be to consume no meat, we have to get there together. We can't just take meat away from meat eaters and expect them to be happy with it, because like that won't work. That'll cause beef.
So you think the only option in your position
is to slowly transition into a poultry vegan society first? Chickens. Yes, because chickens are so damn good universally across the board. More cultures will agree that chicken is lamb than in Indian culture.
So it never come across your mind to like not eat animals at all?
No.
It doesn't cross your mind?
I just think, yeah, do it. I'm done here. I've said quite a lot of crazy shit.
It doesn't cross your mind just like not eat animals at all?
I think that let's wrap it up.
Okay, we'll wrap it up.
I think that being cruel is torturing animals for their entire lifetime and removing them of their freedom. I don't think that killing an animal is cruel. I think that factory farming is evil, and we could do it better and more ethically to support the need and the crutches of the society we live on now. It's a fucked up world.
So you're saying
we should fix it.
We should mass kill ethically?
No, you're twisting my words to fit you.
No. Well, how else do you kill on a mass scale?
No, you're right.
Mass kill?
Only chickens.
Billions of chickens.
Just
ethically.
chickens.
Okay.
Because cows are too intelligent.
Oh, so okay, he didn't know. Okay then.
I'd just like to say that what you're doing is God's work.
God's work.
Changing the hearts and minds of people in a very brilliant and intelligent way. And I just think.
Do you like the reverse psychology?
I think it's amazing, yes. I just want to say that, like, my primary belief is that veganism is the ideal we should be striving for as quickly as possible for human society, right? But the only reason I'm thinking of blueprints for poultry veganist, ridiculous, contradictory shit is because you want to change a lot of minds. And there's a lot of ways of doing it. And some people are very stubborn in their views. And just good luck, bro.
Cheers, brother.
Can I get some literature? Also, thank you for the water. You guys are great. God bless you.
No worries,
Thanks.
God bless you too, bro.
Thanks, brother.
Next time I see you, you're going to be new vegan.
Damn. So what I said earlier, I said that there's a couple of ways this can go, and I said I think the best way, in my opinion, is to fuck around in the beginning, and then try and finish on something serious, right? There you go. And that's exactly what happened. And it's great that he came back and was like calm and serious and was like, and he acknowledged that what he was saying was silly. And he was like, no, it was like, jokes aside, here's what I think. And I think that was brilliant. I think that's great work by Joey. And then this guy, what a legend. That's so cool. That was a really cool video. And I like how this was quite short, actually. And obviously it could have gone on for longer and it could have been a longer conversation, but this being short, snappy, to the point. Yeah, it was cool. I liked it. I liked it more than the other reactions we've done today, for sure. That was really cool. Nice. Well done, Joey. There's not much you can really do when someone's ranting on like that, is there? You know what I mean? And I think he handled it definitely the best way. Totally. Guys, I am happy with this stream. Just I'll let you know that. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. If you didn't have a good time, why the fuck are you still here? If you didn't have a good time, what are you doing here? But if you did have a good time, then that's great. I am happy that you did, because I did. And I'm going to try and do these more often. Of course, we had a big gap between the last one and this one. It's because I'm doing stuff in the background. As I've told you, I'm doing stuff that I will tell you about in due course. Those of you who know. Those of you who don't know, you'll know very soon. But just know this. The more you support my channel, either monetarily, by following, subscribing, liking, commenting, the more of that you do, join the Patreon team, join the YouTube memberships team, the more of that you do, the more that you are supporting other things that I'm doing that I can't really be so vocal about right now and that I can't put out in the public yet, okay? But bear in mind, please keep this in mind, that the stuff that I am doing, it's high risk and it's going to change a lot for animals that we hope. It's going to have a big, big impact, okay? So just know that all your support, it helps me with my YouTube and it also helps me with all of that stuff. All right, guys, so just keep that in mind. So if you're considering supporting the channel, please do for everything I've just said. It all goes to a good place. Honestly, all the money is going back into all of this. Like, how do I make this better? How do I make life better so I can do this better? How do we do this other project better? It's all coming back, okay? It's all going towards everything you see here and the stuff you don't see yet, which will be coming very soon. All right, guys? So keep that in mind. I will see you all in the next live stream, in the next video. Keep calling out that BS every day, every time you see it, and I'll see you in the next one.